and I'll have a vanilla, one of the vanilla bullshit things, you know, whatever you want, some vanilla bullshit, latte, kappa thing, you know, whatever you got.
Oh, fuck you, Larry, bullshit, motherfucker! You are such a bald asshole!
I'm not sure.
What is that? Oh, that's mine! Hey!
This is the one you're
That's
talking
it,
about?
yeah!
Mondo.
Mondo Freaks.
Mondo Freaks.
Pretty good. How's it going, everybody? I'm Rob Fishbeck, and we are all here. The gang is all here tonight. Our OG friends, how we got into Curb Your Enthusiasm. This is the Curb Your Enthusiasm Fanatics fan. We're going to talk about our favorite bits tonight, our favorite clips, our favorite lines, little recap of season 12 in general. But I've been excited about this show now for months. Like, we've been talking, I'm sure you guys have been talking, we've all been talking, me and Juice have been talking about doing this, and it has all led up to tonight, and I'm thrilled to be here. He's been on the RFN once before, though I will reintroduce him to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend Jimmy Bartlett. We've been friends since first grade, so that's been a long time. And he's actually how I got into Curb Your Enthusiasm, so we're going to talk about that pretty soon here. But I'm going to turn things over right now to Justin the Juice. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, yeah. Not too much. This is a long time coming for this. So, yeah, happy we're finally getting to talk about. Because as we're doing the show, I'm watching, or as Rob and I are watching the new season, I'm watching a lot of the old stuff for the first time. And I want to talk about that, but we got to talk about, the new stuff. So now excited to finally talk about some of this fun stuff. But this is my buddy Austin down here. We've known each other since we knew each other for a couple years before we became friends. We played baseball on the same team. And then for those of you who know the Schmodown, Jacob Whitnaben is kind of like our triple, kind of like a little three-way friendship there with that guy. But yeah, Austin making his podcast debut. I never brought him on the show.
Except he's officially on the
cameo
RFN
appearance, but officially on the RFN. But yeah, we've been good friends and been in the band and all that stuff, and now he moved away, and it's sad, but it's okay. But our Curb fandom, he was the bigger Curb fan for sure, and got me into it. So you feel free to talk or introduce whatever you want to do.
Oh yeah. Hey everybody. Yeah, glad to be here. I am a pharmacist and I have some random crap on my whiteboard back there. So I'll talk more about my favorite episode later, but yeah, the pharmacist doctor episode is definitely a big one for me. And yeah, Justin and I have known each other forever, a lot of band stuff. Rob, I know you and Justin talked about band stuff, and I would listen in on that.
Oh yeah, he listened to our first cameo.
Yeah, the cameo
initial.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, that feels like a lifetime ago, but the cameo days, those were the days.
2020.
Yeah. That was before this YouTube channel really kicked off. So.
Oh, nice. My introduction to Curb Your Enthusiasm. I feel like hotel rooms are the best places to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, just on cable. The first episode I saw was the Black Swan stuff, which I'll have to circle back to a similar experience I almost had last week with a goose. But the first episode I saw with my dad in a hotel room was the Black Swan, and I was just like, oh, this is great. This is so weird. I know this is the Seinfeld guy. I grew up watching Seinfeld. I would watch Seinfeld when I was 10 or younger. It was on every night at 6:30 p.m. and then every night at 10:30 p.m. And my dad and I would just watch that religiously for just years and years and years. So yeah, a lot of hotel room, Curb Your Enthusiasm. And then Justin and I kind of got into it at the same time. I have very fond memories of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Spider-Man PS4. So we would watch episodes, have that on in the background. We got through the first probably maybe three. Maybe three seasons, maybe. I had a hard time with this show because of how frustrating it is sometimes, of how much people hate Larry David. And I feel like as I've gotten older, I just relate to him more and more. I feel like we've all got some Larry David in us. So I feel like I didn't appreciate the show during that time. And then I had to kind of circle back and then really get into it. I'm like, oh, this is great. It somehow gets more and more relatable. I don't know if we're just all cranky old men, but I feel like Justin had something kind of similar where we had a really good start and then we kind of had to circle back. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jay?
Yeah. We watched the first 2 seasons, and then you had a friend tell you to start with the TiVo guy and go from there. Divorce and everything. So you did that, and then you came over to my place, like maybe a Christmas break or so, or Thanksgiving break maybe, and you just put an episode on. We just started from season 9, Fatwa, and then he left, and I was like, you know what? We watched 3 episodes. I'm just gonna keep going. So I watched 9, obviously, to the end, and then I went back to 4 and watched 4 to 9, and then we watched the 3 back in the day. So
that TiVo guy one, that really brought me back, because I feel like when they hit that divorce, it kind of became a whole new show. So then I watched TiVo guy all the way from 7 up until 11 was the only season out, or that was the newest season. And then I went back and watched 1 through 6. And then actually, Justin, when you were in town last month is when I saw some of those early season 6 episodes. So but Rob, you grew up with this show.
So again, we'll do our little thing here in a second, but kind of going off with what you guys have been talking about. It's been fun texting with Juice the last couple months because he's been watching all of these older ones for the first time. So we'd come and hang out in StreamYards, and he'd be telling me, he's like, oh, I just watched this episode. And I'm just going down memory lane. I remember the first time I saw that 15 years ago. But so I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy. So Jimmy, how did you get into Curb Your Enthusiasm?
I was just watching it because it started out as one of those shows. I've been watching it the majority of my life at this point, which is fucking weird to say. But it was one of those shows where my parents would watch it, on HBO's on Sunday night, on HBO on Sunday nights. And it was one of those things where it was I wasn't really allowed to watch it because I was 10 when it came out.
Right. Same,
And I was just sort of watching it from, hoping they wouldn't notice me, or they're on the couch watching it. And I was on the computer in our computer room basement. And then just kind of what did they say? What did he say? And then eventually they started DVRing it. And so then I just started watching it. Eventually that all fell away and they just didn't give a shit anymore.
Right.
The same thing happened with South Park. I went from not being allowed to watch South Park when I was 10 years old to my mom recording the newest episode of South Park on DVRs, and then us watching it together
as a family.
Yeah, as a family show. So they held out a little bit on that, but they couldn't keep me away. So I ended up watching it basically in real time as the seasons were going.
From pretty much day one.
Pretty much, yeah. I couldn't remember the first, it probably within the first or second season, I would say. Sure. I don't remember the first episode I've ever seen or anything like that, but watching it pretty much in real time. And then there would be breaks in the seasons where, I went from being in 6th grade to high school, or middle of high school, and then college to all of a sudden now I'm, you know what I mean?
But it's so funny you say that, because you're not wrong. For 2/3 of our life, Curb Your Enthusiasm has been a part of it.
Yeah, I started watching it with my parents as a kid, and I don't have kids now, but feasibly I could be watching it with my kids at this point, who are 10 years old. Yeah,
right.
So it's one of those shows where I've just been watching it, and it has such a unique release schedule of whenever Larry David feels like it. It's always so funny to me that's just how they do it. So every time he was ready to watch it, I was ready to, every time he's ready to make it, I was ready to watch it. So,
Right.
And then Rob and I shared a lot of TV shows and common interests in,
Oh yeah,
grade school and high school. So I told
yeah.
him he's got to check this show out. And I think Kamikaze Bingo is a great jumping in point.
So I'll never forget. Like
Yeah.
for me,
If you're offended by that, the show is not
the
for you.
show's not for you.
But if you're totally into it like you were, then that's got everything in it.
I'll never forget this. Jimmy's over at my house and he's like, we had just gotten a new do you remember when we got that big screen 55-inch projection TV in our basement?
It weighed 18,000
That weighed
pounds.
it's exactly
Yeah.
it weighed 18,000
Yeah.
pounds.
awesome.
It took the entire Bunyan family and John Henry's family was there as well, his ancestors,
There
to
you go.
carry it out of the basement when
Yeah.
we moved. So we had just gotten that TV. It was like 2004, early 2005, somewhere around there. And I think it was season 5 of Curb Your Enthusiasm. And we had just gotten HBO maybe like a year early or something like that. We had the DVR. We got the DVR. So it's like the Comcast version of TiVo, right? And Jimmy's like, you got to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, Kamikaze Bingo. And I was like, gotcha. So this is back. We were talking about this earlier. Back in the day, HBO had like 10 channels. There was like HBO East, HBO West, HBO 2, HBO Comedy, HBO Drama, blah, 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 blah. So HBO Comedy, there were 2 episodes a day that they would just rerun previous episodes of Curb. So I caught Kamikaze Bingo. That's the first one I saw. And I watched it. And I just, again, I'm sure we all grew up with Seinfeld. I for sure, pretty much since I can remember, first, second grade, watching Seinfeld reruns. And I just want to put this in context for like anybody listening and even for ourselves. When we got into Curb Your Enthusiasm, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia hadn't even come out yet. The Office hadn't even come out yet. The Office series premiere was 6, 7 months after I first watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, 6 months later, something like that. Because it was one of those, The Office was one of those shows that it was a replacement show. Whatever show was on got canceled. That first season was only 6 episodes. So it was one of those like late spring kind of deals. So I'm watching this episode going, I've never seen anything like this before, because at the time, the 3-camera sitcom, that's all there was, and then Saturday Night Live. So I was DVRing, so I was able to kind of watch all the previous 4 seasons. And, I think I can speak for all, like once you're in.
Oh yeah.
You're in for life.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy you mentioned that. Like, dude, most of our lives we've been watching the show, like as they're coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
23
But like,
years?
let me ask you guys this question. I mean, out of all the people I know, there's just not a lot of people that are into Curb Your Enthusiasm.
No.
It's so weird.
Not personally, no.
And it's like, obviously the show's got to generate enough views for them to justify to keep making the season after 12 seasons, 25 years, And for me, day one, I didn't have to wait till I was a little older. I was a grumpy old get off my lawn when I was like 13. And I just kept saying to myself, Larry is just saying everything that I think, but I don't say. I'm going to start being like Larry and just saying the things that I want to say. And I know this sounds absurd, but like, and it's not just Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. There's other things too, but like, I think as an adolescent, like growing up, I think Larry David's character on that show had a tremendous impact on me, like of like who I'm going to be, like personality wise.
My sense of humor for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Always Sunny put the nail in the coffin on my sense of humor for the rest of my life. The Curb started it and Sunny killed it. So now
100%.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You guys are all, I mean, I know Juice is a Seinfeld guy. You guys are all Seinfeld guys?
Oh yeah.
Right.
You like
yeah.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just that observational comedy, that saying what you wish you could say. And I think the fact that it is like set in reality in a way, technically just gives it such an appeal, especially as movie fans that we all are, with, loving all the different cameos and references all throughout. And, eventually it turns into, ends up with just Bruce, like,
like
who would
the
ever
penultimate episode has Bruce Springsteen in it.
And when you see like a celebrity come on Curb, an episode of Curb, 50-50, it's either them as just themselves, it's Bruce Springsteen as Bruce Springsteen, or it's somebody as
he's
a
one of the
completely different
Funkhausers.
character. Yeah,
that's
like it's you never know, and they're not wearing wigs, they're not dressed up in different character outfits. It's just them. Like Steve Buscemi was a character, and he was just Steve Buscemi.
Yeah,
he had a different name.
Yeah,
he stole Richard Lewis' smelly car. So I don't know if Larry just asks him like day of on set, you want to have a name or you just want to be Steve? You want to be Steve Buscemi? You want to be the boss, or you want to?
I wonder.
Come up with a name.
That'd be a great interview question for Larry. I like Conan. Like
Conan.
All heard that Conan was going to be in it, and then so it's like, okay, is Conan going to be Conan, or is he just going to be random?
Yeah,
because Jimmy Kimmel's in it, and
right. But it is true, because like when Vince Vaughn was first on the show, I must not have caught it right away that they introduced him that he was one of the Funkhausers. So I was just like, oh, it's saying, whatever. But then like John Hamm's on the show, and he's just John Hamm. He's, Don Draper, the actor, John Hamm,
Yeah, so every time you see a celebrity, you just kind of got to wait and see who the hell this is.
All right, so I'll turn it back to you guys so me and Juice have been talking about season 12 on and off for the last couple months, kind of like episode by episode. So maybe we'll lead with you, Austin. What are your thoughts like overall about the final season? Maybe a couple highs and lows, and then we'll just kind of go around to everybody and kind of talk about season 12 as a whole.
Yeah, I like season 12. Again, I loved your guys' commentary on it. That honestly made it more entertaining for me. In terms of ranking, it would be a little bit low. Like I felt like very small, like lack of effort here or there. Like not to be too negative or anything like that, but it didn't always feel as like tight as it could have. Like there were some episodes that were like, oh, that was like the perfect episode. I forget, it might have been like the dream scheme, or there was an episode that Justin and I were talking about where it was just like, oh, that's like the perfect episode. But I don't know. It's like, I think Justin and I talk about this. It's like we love the more individual bits, but sometimes like the series or season, the season long arc doesn't like always land, at least for me. Like I love the Spite Store season, but then the season before with like the 5-foot fence, I could have kind of done without this. And then I guess with this season, the Atlanta stuff, I could have sort of also done without. Now I say all that, but I think, I forget exactly what episode it was, but season 12 has probably my favorite joke of the entire series, which is when Leon and Larry and what's Larry's ex-wife's name? Cheryl. So they're outside. It's probably the Ken Kendra episode, I think.
Oh my God.
And, my favorite joke of the entire series is when Leon goes, yeah, you got to watch out for being Me Too'd. I was once in a 3-way. Things got messy. I almost got We Too'd. And I've tried saying that joke. Guys, I've tried saying that joke to women, and they're just like, why did you just say that to me? And then I say it to guys, and they're like, oh, that's hilarious.
This is why he's never been on What the Show.
But I love that bit. I like the ending, obviously. Like I love Jerry Seinfeld. I love when he's in it. But overall, like Disgruntled was really good. There was one episode in particular that felt like one of the more like just like a perfect classic episode. But I don't know. I would give it like maybe like a 6.5 out of 10, which seems a little bit low, but Jimmy's nodding, so maybe it's not too
About
low.
right where I was at. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right,
I was
we'll,
at like a 6.
we'll turn it over to you.
Yeah.
What are all your thoughts on this season?
I mean, I would sort of echo sort of the same things. The overarching story was kind of weak, but the initial, there was some episodes like the lawn jockey one, the one with the car, and then the dream scheme. Those ones felt like classic Curb episodes.
Yep.
And then we were talking about this prior. At least in my opinion, I feel like some of the improv, I guess, just went on a little too long or didn't land. And I specifically noted in watching the finale where he's improving with Jerry Seinfeld, that whole bit about the bearded lady, dating the bearded lady. Like, I thought it was okay, but I wasn't like laughing at it. And then at the after it, I was like, that was like 3 minutes of this series finale you just dedicated to that bit. And it wasn't really funny. It was just them two kind of joking around. And then it had nothing to do with the story. It had nothing to do with anything. So yeah, I felt like there was some wasted time, some of the episodes with sort of stories and threads that didn't go anywhere. Conan, I love Conan, loved seeing him on the show. I just felt like they could have done more with him. He just kind of shows up. Richard Lewis has the whole Conan clearance, which is hilarious. And then he just, nothing ever comes out. He just borrows his car.
Right.
And then that's kind of it. You don't see Conan again. It wasn't really like, it didn't end up blowing up in his face or didn't have some big consequence or some big thing.
Right.
Which obviously not every cameo needs to be, but I felt like with their final season, that was like your time to really get that kind of stuff going one more time. So yeah, I would put it probably at like about a 6 also, but still, obviously a great season.
A 6 out of 10 for Curb Your Enthusiasm is still above average compared to all other comedy shows.
Yeah.
It's like, and I don't know if I can use this analogy as much right now, but even like a year or two ago, I could still use it with like the MCU. Like a middle of the road MCU movie is still probably better than a lot of other just like random action adventure movies that are coming out. Right. So,
or like the fish duck episode, like Justin was like, I'm not sure if I really understand the fish duck bit or if I missed something there. Yeah, some of the bits just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, if the bit didn't work, that's fine, move on. But in your last season, I feel like you really want to use your best bits, and some of them just didn't hit for me more than others.
Yeah, the fish, right. Because that was one of the ones where like I kind of fell asleep. I think I fell asleep watching it. So then when I went back to rewatch it, I was like, oh, Fish Stuck's the name of the episode. Like I must have missed the whole thing. And then I was like, oh wait, it was just that was
Yeah, I kept thinking the fish was going to come back at the end. It was going to be some, because Larry asked this question, he got kicked out of some restaurant or got somebody else in trouble.
Yep.
No, it's just the guy just says, no, the fish is at a different restaurant now.
Kind of like, if you guys remember, there's an old episode, the baptism, where Cheryl's sister, played by Caitlin Olsen, was getting married, and her fiance was converting from Judaism to Christianity.
Yeah.
So I'm going somewhere with this.
Yeah.
So Larry had the Seinfeld jacket, and Cheryl wants him to get rid of it. So he gives it to this homeless man, and it's got their plane tickets in it. So the whole he thought all these different people took his plane tickets, right? That he kept running into. Like, did you take my plane tickets? Did you blah, 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 blah. And then it calls back all the way at the last 10 seconds of the episode. They pull up to a red light. The homeless guy comes to the thing. They give him a couple bucks, and he goes, oh, hey, by the way, I found these in your, and it's like, so to your guys' point with the fish stuck, that's what I was waiting for at the end, was like, he's at a different restaurant or the other one in the chain, and he sees the fish and realizes that the fish is alive. Fish dead. Oh yeah, that was the whole thing. Right.
Yeah. Nice.
So I would say overall, I mean, again, I liked this season quite a bit. I would give it like a 7.5, whatever out of 10. But again, like if we're sticking with ranking the Curb seasons, I get what you guys are saying at like the 6.5 level for sure. 100%. I would go as far, I mean, they've had different musicians on the show before, but I would say Bruce is probably the biggest like ace musician that they've ever had. Cause like there was the episode, the we'll talk about Freak Book, where Paul McCartney, but Paul McCartney wasn't in the episode. So I will say I did love how there was no introduction. It was just random scene, cut, and there's Bruce and Jeff and Larry sitting at the table. No introduction. They're mid-conversation. And it's like those are the little nuances about the show that I've always appreciated, is that they don't make a big fuss about getting a celebrity on the show, So whatever. I did think me and Juice talked about this. What I didn't like was the second episode was basically a part 2 of the first episode because they were still in Atlanta. And that's one thing I always loved about Curb was, yes, there's an overarching story for each season, like the producer season or the reunion season or whatever it be. But like the episodes feel very self-contained. And I felt some of the ones in this season weren't as self-contained. Like you kind of needed to have seen all of the other episodes and remember them to remember the bits, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I agree.
What'd you think, Juice?
Yeah. I'd say it's right there. Yeah, kind of like 7, 10, 6. Like those are probably my favorites. But then I don't know, the rest be kind of under, just not too much. I don't really think of shows in like ranking that way. Like I do.
Sure.
So I don't need to throw a number out, but it's definitely not the best, but definitely not the worst either. So, or at least not.
It's still above average comedy.
Yeah,
like Jimmy, would you say compared to like Young Sheldon? Or
yeah,
something?
it's competing with Young Sheldon.
Nothing
actually.
against Young Sheldon, but
Yeah.
exactly. That's kind of the. By the way, I wrote this down and I wanted to mention this earlier. Okay, go ahead, Juice. You have something?
I was to say one thing while we're on that topic, because you mentioned The Office and stuff before.
Oh, right.
It doesn't have it, and I guess it's probably is a little bit different just because Larry is the one doing it the whole time. But like you don't have the last couple seasons or suck. Like there's no point to watch them.
Right.
Like, you don't have that. Like it's not like, oh, that character, Michael Scott's not in it. Like most people just don't even watch it. So
the last 2 seasons of Scrubs, who the hell was watching
They
that?
changed networks.
Yeah.
They went to ABC.
They changed networks and changed half the actors.
Yeah, Zach Braff wasn't in it.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah. But that's a really good point because that's, as much as I love The Office, I don't really go back and rewatch those last 2-3 seasons. As great as everybody is on that show, and that was an ensemble piece. Without Michael, it was just different. It's a different show.
And the style of comedy and Seinfeld's right is in that conversation too with Curb, but like it's not like Friends where it's just the same. I've never really seen too much Friends, but like the same 6 people in their apartment, like they're running out of bits. They just have to have them date each other. Like there's even with Office, like it's not as good once Jim and Pam actually get together. It's the chase of Jim that like makes it so compelling, but Seinfeld and Curb are shows that could just keep going and going and going and never run out of material because it's just looking around at the world and making commentary.
And Jerry and Elaine never dated for a season. Like
never. There was
And listen, can you imagine how many times NBC executives were like, "Listen, we need to have Jerry and Elaine."
Oh, probably.
And you can see Larry going, "Absolutely not."
Didn't they date in the backstory though? Like in their history,
Like
I thought
prior
they dated.
to
Prior to the show.
Prior to the show.
They dated though.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because then, now now it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
They're not 4 one-offs.
Yeah.
Now you got a couple.
Yeah.
And then, now they're a couple. So now Kramer's got a knock before he comes in because they're living together. Well, that changes the whole show.
Yeah. And there's no like, oh, I'm like, who are you, Team Jerry or Team Elaine in the breakup? Like that's
right.
Like you knew that would have happened.
Well, and that's one thing that I loved about Curb. Oh, so that'll lead me to the point that I wanted to bring up, but we'll get there in a second. So that's one thing I appreciated about Curb was even though him and Cheryl get divorced, Cheryl Hines is still in the show. And she's still billed, a Larry David, Jeff Garland, Susie Essman, Cheryl Hines. Like she might not be in every episode, but she's still, top billing. And they kept her on, and it's like you look back and it's like, wow, it's pretty 50-50 the seasons they were together versus the seasons they weren't together.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So like kudos to Larry for having that forethought of, well, me and Cheryl are going to split, but Cheryl's going to then hitch up with Ted. So no more Mary Steenburgen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that leads me to the thing I wanted to bring up, which was I just wrote down Meet the Blacks because that's the name of the episode. We were talking about this, and Jimmy, why don't you bring up what you were talking about earlier about Leon and like the seasons without Leon?
Yeah, that if you've watched it from the beginning, or even if you're going back and watching it, if you're starting from the beginning, when Leon shows up, it's kind of like jarring when they join, when he becomes part of the show like that. And I remember not being, into it.
Right.
Like
we
Hurricane
thought it was weird at the time.
Yeah. Just like, why is Larry hanging out with this guy for the whole season? But now looking back on it, it's weird to watch the episodes without Leon because he's such like a great sidekick to Larry in every way, like a complete opposite and equal to everything that Larry is in the same way. And I was referencing it to like Always Sunny, where watching Always Sunny from the beginning, when Frank comes in, I was like, oh, they just brought this celebrity in here. What is this? He's like their dad. This is kind of, whatever. Right. This is just boring compared to everything the crazy that they do.
Why is Danny DeVito?
Yeah, why do they have Danny DeVito on the show? They got the Penguin in here. And then now I can't imagine the show. Danny DeVito's like the best character on the show. He makes a lot of the episodes, he makes a lot of the seasons with the crazy shit they make Danny DeVito do.
Yeah, like just like how you could kind of split the old seasons versus the new seasons, because like the new seasons was like 2017,
right after the gap.
Yeah, like I even consider kind of like with Jimmy's point, or sorry, the floor fucker's point. I would kind of say like, yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to say this a billion times, but yeah, the TiVo guy is such a great place to start because you have single Larry, and I think single Larry is great in my opinion. And then you have plenty of, that he's kind of established his relationship too with Leon. So yeah, like going from like the TiVo guy on is like kind of like one version of the show. And then everything before that is kind of like another version.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The TiVo guy is the second to last episode of the Meet the Blacks season. So that's the season before the reunion season.
Couple earlier, I think.
Or episode 7, and then episode 6 before that is the Rat Dog. So actually, Rat Dog, other than like season 12.
Well, the one before that is really good too. I forget which one. I think you should just start with season 6.
So Meet the Blacks. Meet the Blacks is season 6, episode 1.
Yeah.
And then so like halfway through that season is the TiVo guy.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, gotcha. So because then the next season's the reunion season with Seinfeld.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that one starts out with like Funkhauser's crazy sister or something like that.
Yep.
Oh, you got the list. You got the list up. I love it.
Yeah.
I would say if you've tried watching Curb and you just for whatever reason aren't really getting into the first few seasons, just start with 6.
Juice. That's what happened with Helen. So
okay.
So I got Helen to watch during the pandemic. She got really into The Office, and then that ended, and she tried watching Parks and Rec. Couldn't get through the first season, and I was like, just start with season 2. And she's like, no, I don't want to watch it. So then she was over here one day, and I showed her the Gang Solves the Gas Crisis episode of Sunny.
Okay.
Wild card when Charlie jumps out of the back of the van. So I got her hooked on Sunny. So she watched all of Sunny, and then I was like, all right, it's time. You've got to watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. We watched the first 5 episodes of season 1, and she's like, I don't get it. And I was like, start with Meet the Blacks.
Oh, nice.
And she wouldn't do it. She wanted to watch it chronologically, but she just couldn't get into the show from season 1. And it sucks because it's like season 1's good. It's not the best season, but at the same time, it's different when we're watching the show in 2005. The episode's only 5 years old, But when you're watching the show in 2022 and the episode's 22 years old and they're using house phones still, like I could get how maybe that would be a little difficult to jump in. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah. Right.
All right. So I think I think this is a good time. Let's just get into it. Awesome. We'll start with you because it looks like you're itching to bring something up.
Oh,
We're just gonna go around. We're just gonna go around the horn for as long as we want to go. We'll bring up. Doesn't have to be chronological. Doesn't have to be. There's no rules. Bits, lines, episodes, whatever you want to bring up, and then we'll go around the horn. We'll talk about it and all that jazz. So.
Oh sure. Well, I can kind of start off the trend, maybe talking about like favorite episodes or something like that. Yeah.
Just throw one episode out for right now.
Yeah,
because we'll all be able to talk about that one.
Oh
right.
yeah. So maybe we talked about this more backstage, but yeah, Kamikaze Bingo. I mean, it's whenever
Chicken Teriyaki Boy.
Well, also a very underrated part of that episode is when he walks into his dad's nursing home and he's just listening to porn like on the highest volume. And I mean, yeah, so as a pharmacist myself, we get along with doctors pretty well, but the whole, pharmacist, doctor, I mean, I relate to that wholeheartedly because granted, the doctors know more about the body, but we know more about the medications. We're the medication expert. So the fact that he's going from one recommendation from the other, and then he thinks the pharmacist's name. Oh, what do you guys remember the name that he thinks? Like it's like something was here. Oh, I might have to look it up.
Kofi was here.
Kofi, yeah.
Kofi was here. Yeah.
Yeah, so he thinks the pharmacist is Kofi, and then that just completely throws out, But yeah, so I any sort of just being a pharmacist myself, any sort of pharmacist shout out in an episode, I was like, this is great. I mean, the whole like bonsai at the end is probably my favorite ending to any episode. That and the bear midriff. But
we'll get.
Yeah, do you guys want to add on to that?
Let's talk about Kamikaze Bingo first.
Okay.
So all right, so this is what I'll say about that. I mean, that was my introduction to the show. I no bullshit. In 2009, when we got out of high school, I had enough credits or whatever, so I was getting out at noon every day, anyways. Mm-hmm. And senior year, and I would drive past the Burger King in New Lenox, and they would advertise they would have bingo there on Tuesdays with senior citizens.
The Burger King?
At the Burger King in New Lenox.
Oh my God, imagine going to that.
In 2009.
Damn.
Every time I would drive by it, I would hear Larry David's voice in my head go, bingo! Bingo! And how his dad had a fling with the girl that caught him cheating at bingo. Like they didn't call. She's in cahoots, or like they're in cahoots or whatever with the bingo.
Eddie's going to the what was it? The doctor of the home trying to get him. Like there's collusion in the bingo. Like check it out.
Yeah. But I mean, like that. This is a great place to start with Kamikaze Bingo because that episode is so layered with so many great bits.
Yeah,
chicken teriyaki boy.
I love when he's ramming the wheelchair at the end. When he's ramming it into Larry David, and they're playing the World War II sound effects, the plane noises, the plane crashing noises as he's flying into him, just to end the whole show.
Yeah, because isn't there another show that also touches on like, are you really a kamikaze pilot if you? Well, I guess that kind of the plot of Godzilla minus one.
Godzilla minus one.
Yeah, Godzilla minus one. Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Which no bullshit. I'm sitting in a packed theater. Which, by the way, I bring this up anytime I can. The fact that I'm, the weekend that came out, I'm sitting in a packed theater. Yeah. We're watching a movie with subtitles.
And it's Godzilla.
Yeah,
I was there Friday night.
That was my first first thought with the whole, like, after the war ended, it crossed my mind and I was like, oh, that's kind of like the kamikaze pilot from Curb.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like almost laughing. It's like it's played 100% emotional,
Right.
and it's serious, but I was like, this is like
This is the guy.
Yeah, where's the bingo?
I wonder if this is the guy.
Yeah, I wonder if he grows up. He gets older and becomes that guy. Yeah.
Oh man.
Juice, you got any thoughts on kamikaze?
I think we hit on that, unless anyone has anything else with like between the doctor and pharmacist at all. But
no, you got a bit you want to bring up?
That's funny. I was gonna start with the very next episode. I was gonna just talk about the whole kidney, just the whole Lewis needing a kidney bit.
Oh.
It's right at the top of my list. Hell yeah. Let's do
nice.
it. Let's do it.
Perfect. So, because the next episode is when he locks himself in the car and has to go through the drive-through, walks through the drive-through.
Mm-hmm.
Which because Rob talked about, and I talked about this. I don't know if it was on air, but have you guys ever tried the walking through the drive-through?
No.
Justin, because I think you mentioned, because I have.
Right.
So,
yeah, I know that.
So Rob, you kind of know who Jacob Windebin is, sort of,
Yeah.
right?
I've never officially met him, but I know who he is. Yeah.
So I went on his back, and he was like hunched over. Let me back up. He was hunched over, like this. He was just like this, and I'm just like on top of his back, right? And we go through the drive-through at McDonald's, and the woman just goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like 17, and I go, "This is my horse." And then Jacob goes, and she's like, "You guys are idiots." And then the car behind us starts beeping at us, and I fall off of Jake, and we just like scramble right away like the rats in Ratatouille. But that was the stupid walking through. Yeah.
So it's 2007. After one of the high school football games, and I'm with some friends, and we're in the Taco Bell parking lot. There's like, I don't know, maybe 10 vehicles in the parking lot, all high school kids. Everybody's just hanging out and stuff. So the inside of Taco Bell, let's say they close at 9, the inside. The drive-thru's still open though. So we're all standing there hanging out, blah, 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 blah. And I'm kind of hungry at this point. And thank you, Larry David. I was like, I'm just going to walk through the drive-thru and get a couple of tacos. So I thought I was kind of like, I mean, I didn't want there to be a problem because I did want the food. But at the same time, I was hoping for a little bit of that, "Sir, are you in a car? You can't order food if you're not in a car," right? I was kind of hoping for that. But I just walked right up to the squawk box. That's what I call it. And I was like, can I get 4 soft shell tacos? And they're like, okay, your bill will be whatever the fuck it was, $3.10 for 4
Yep.
back in the day, right? Remember those times before inflation?
$3.10 each now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I walked right up, and like the guy that gave me the food, he looked to be higher than I've ever been in my life. So they didn't really seem to care, but I just remember eating those tacos going, I lived out my dream and did one of the Larry David bits from Curb walking through a drive-thru. So
That's awesome.
there you have it. Lewis needs a kidney. Lewis needs a kidney.
Anything with Lewis is my favorite.
Hmm.
He's by far my favorite. Regular player. He's my favorite side character in Curb. Funkhauser is probably second, but anything with Richard Lewis is just so funny. I'll talk about it later, but the episodes most of the ones that I was bringing up were like Richard Lewis ones,
Yeah.
like the one we just watched.
Yeah.
That's what made season 12 kind of hard too, because he passed away so recently, and he looked so bad, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was really just sad. Did you guys just watch the episode where they were helping the blind guy move or something like that, or what?
Oh my gosh,
blind guy
that's a
move is-
great
It's
episode.
awesome. Is that the one where with his girlfriend?
Yeah.
with the blind guy's
And
girlfriend.
then
She's a supermodel.
And then Larry's like, what? That's great.
Yeah.
So, but the whole Lewis needs a kidney thing, like I just rewatched that recently.
Mm.
What I love is how like there's so many different classic bits within that episode because it turns out Jeff is also a match. But then Susie's like, you fat fuck, blah, blah, blah. What's the daughter's name?
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
She disappeared.
What is the
Yeah,
daughter's
she
name?
disappears.
Oh my God.
That's your 100-point trivia question. It's like on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. She's like, what if she needs a kidney one day? You're not gonna give your fucking daughter a kidney, you fat fuck. You fucking bald asshole. Give him a kid, blah 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 blah. And then Lewis has that cousin, and the cousin's in the coma. And like Larry's hoping he dies so then he can get the organ harvest. The levels of like, wow, God, like if this was like a real person, like you probably wouldn't want to be friends with this guy. Like he sounds like a horrible person. But like for Larry, it's just a typical Monday.
Yeah. That's the my favorite part of the bit is when of the storyline is when he keeps visiting his cousin and when his cousin finally wakes up and he's like, you visit Lewis. You're like, I heard that you visited me like every day. I met you once at a party. Like, oh, I just really care. Like,
well, that guy was one of the like Tannenbaums in Seinfeld. It was like him and then his son and his dad were like really old guys from like Florida, and they all throw out their back and stuff like that. And they're like, it's go time. They try lifting up I think he's one of those guys, right? Or am I just crazy?
I'm sure. I've not rewatched Seinfeld in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does anyone want to bring up, or if we talk about the end of that, does anyone saving like the end of it for later at all? Or
the end of Lewis?
The end of the So when that could be like it. That if that was how the show ended, like that type of a thing where he dies and then wakes back up or whatever, that would have been a great like series finale.
I was just thinking,
had they not. Like,
that was a question I was going to ask you guys because there is a little bit of a gap. It's like 2005 to 2007. Like, do you think Larry did that, like just in case they were done? Like, because that feels like a great ending, and it's called The End. I mean, I wonder if
that's true.
Yeah, it could be.
I think there's been different. I mean, that could probably be the first one, and then I would say after the New York season, when then there's like a 6-year gap, maybe Larry. Yeah, maybe to your point, Larry was like, "Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna come back." So at least we got this kind of with a bow on it, wrapped up with a bow kind of thing.
So and then there's the whole he thinks he's a Gentile.
The adoption.
So he thinks he's adopted, and I love that. Because his dad isn't in it very much more, or at least the later seasons that I watched.
Right.
So I honestly, even though I was watching it for the first time not that long ago, I was like, wait a second, he's not a Jew? And I thought like that he was technically not actually a Jew, but then yeah, obviously he does turn out. But I thought it's so funny. He's just he's going around there fishing and getting beers and just doing Midwest guy stuff. Like,
total Midwest.
Just normal America.
You bring up an interesting point. I think that was the last season in which his dad was in the show.
Right.
Because, I mean, so we were talking about this earlier. Cheryl's parents were heavily featured in the first few seasons. Mm-hmm. And so was Caitlin Olsen. But then, like, contextually, then she gets Sunny. So she's off, right? But then, like, I remember in the reunion season, because I was just rewatching that when Cheryl was auditioning, she was talking about, she's like, can I tell my mom I got the part? And like, it's just like blink and you miss it. But then her parents never get brought up ever again. So one thing I do appreciate about the show is that they don't have to like give definitive endings to any of the characters. Like They don't even acknowledge that like Bob Einstein died in real life. They just made like a passing comment that Marty was in like Asia or something doing
Germany or something.
Something like that. He was traveling abroad.
Yeah, whatever happened to Richard Kine's character? He was was for like a whole season.
I just wrote down Richard Kine.
Yeah.
He played his cousin.
Yeah.
You know, that was the season with the Christ snail.
That's I had that on one of my notes too, is the Christ snail.
Do you want to bring that one up? You guys got anything else to say about Lewis Needs a Kidney?
No.
All right.
The one we just watched was Lewis dating a burlesque dancer though.
Yes.
And that one is so fucking funny.
Oh, that's a good ending.
That whole episode is fantastic. And just the whole scene. I even wrote down the quote from Richard Lewis when he's arguing when she's talking about getting the breast reduction, and he says, "Why'd you have to point out that fucking mole?" And Larry was saying he saw it. I wrote it down because I was laughing so hard. He said, Richard just says, "Who are you, Galileo, looking at her moles through your telescope from 40 feet away, jerking off?" It's so funny. This is not math. This is not mathematics. This is my life, Larry. This is my life, Larry.
I think I found the one.
Yeah, everyone is the one. Anytime Lewis
man.
is dating a girl, he's madly in love with her, and she's the one. Which I'm so glad they kept that going, even into the last season with the smelly car. I'm dating her. She's the one.
At your age, you think you finally found the one?
Yeah, your age. I'm gonna start a family, Larry.
Yeah.
I want to start a family. He's like 75.
Yeah. Who are you gonna adopt? A 40-year-old?
Yeah, adopt a 40-year-old.
That's another way I relate to Larry is I do a real good job of pissing off my friends, like girlfriends and wives and stuff like that too. Like I don't know how to interact with them, and I just say Larry David type stuff, and they it's not good.
Another reason why not on with the show.
Yep.
So going off of the Richard's date and the burlesque dancer episode, whatever the title of that one was, I love how him and Leon and Marty and Jeff went to the strip club to go watch her perform. Like, oh, Richard's dating a stripper, burlesque dancer. Like, oh, let's go check her out. Like, do some reconnaissance work.
Yeah.
And then they're leaving, and Richard's pulling up, and he sees them leave. And I just think, like, what if that was me in that situation? I mean, first of all, I don't think I'd be dating a stripper, but more than that, like,
and they do the slow motion. That's the best part.
Yeah.
He drives by, their cars cross, and they just look at each other. And he's looking pissed off. And Larry just has the deer in the headlights look in his eyes when he knows he got caught. It's so funny. Then they're walking out too. I only know because we just watched it. They're walking, just that scene where they're all walking out talking about how fun that was. And Funkhouse just says, "Didn't you have fun, Larry?" "No." He just says, "No." And they just keep walking. No.
That's my favorite It's Always Sunny meme is when they look across at the restaurant to each other.
The table.
I got that same energy.
Yeah, that same look, and then just that side profile shot of Richard Lewis with his like bottom lip out, like angry and it's so funny. And then they go meet, and he's talking when she's talking about the breast reduction. That's like if she saw your balls, would you describe your balls like that? Nobody describes balls like that. Nobody wants to see balls. They're reviled. That's the way he says balls are reviled. Nobody would compliment balls. They're reviled.
I found the episode name, The Blind Date. Season 4, episode 3.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fun
anything with Richard Lewis. And I noticed, I even said it when I was watching the finale, or maybe one of the episodes this season. It was hard seeing Richard Lewis in that season. He was so much more frail. And you don't really notice at first when he's on like the golf cart talking to Larry about the will, all that stuff.
They had him sitting a lot.
Yes. That's what I was getting to, is that I was like, oh, I'm so glad he's back. Like I love seeing him on the show. And then it was so funny. And then I started noticing as more scenes go by, he's always sitting. He's in the car sitting. He's in a chair sitting. You never see him get up. He opens the car door and they cut away.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, he was probably having trouble walking at that point. So they just had him sit for every scene. I mean, even then he was killing it. You could tell almost he wasn't, not that he wasn't all there, but the way he talks, because he's like I'm talking right now, he was just like a million miles an hour going back and forth with Larry. And in this, he's just kind of like talks very slowly. But even then, still hilarious. Him wanting to start a family, the car, he can't smell anything because of COVID. Just all the shit he says, it's so funny. Even in that period of his life where he was so frail.
Juice, do you remember? So when that episode aired, we did our show or our recap, and we were talking about like, well, they are getting older. They're in their 70s now. I guess this would be a comment.
yeah.
And then he died 3 days
You
later.
killed Richard Lewis. You son of a bitch.
Fucking-
You killed Richard Lewis.
I'm gonna go steal my 5-wood back out of his casket.
It just reminds me completely random. I was in a wedding yesterday and I made a joke to the groomsmen next to me. I bet they forgot the rings. And sure enough, they start scrambling, like the maid of honor like runs and has to go get them. Thankfully it wasn't like
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Oh,
they figured it out ahead. They figured it, but we were all still up there, but they figured it out, was able to, but like everyone could tell that was what it was happening. There was no
That's so
discreetness.
That's
So
funny.
that was pretty great.
All right, so I'll lead with, since the Christ nail got brought up, like I think I'm gonna lead with the Christ nail. I mean, there's so many ones. That one's not one of the ones I got written, but like that episode was just so great that, you know, it was very topical because the Passion of the Christ had just come out, you know, and again, I love that season with Richard Kind as his cousin.
Yeah.
I thought his comedy is just always
Larry, just his voice. He's
just so great. Well,
yeah.
that's Bing Bong.
Yeah.
From
he's so
Inside
annoying.
Out.
He's annoying in the best way.
But it's funny because I was pulling him up, and it's like I remember when the Batman came out a couple years ago, and Richard Kind's in it, or Colin Farrell's in it, and as the Penguin, and I just kept like looking at the thing, like, God, does he look like Richard Kind? And then there was this meme that came out that had Richard Kind next to Colin Farrell's Penguin, and I was just like, all right, so I wasn't the only one that caught that.
Nice.
But yeah, I love the Christ nail. I love the whole dynamic because again, being where we're from, you know, it's a lot of Christian, you know, people. So there wasn't a lot of Jewish people that at least for myself that I grew up around. So for me, like the whole dynamic with Cheryl, she's Christian and her family, and they celebrate all these Christian holidays. And then Larry's Jewish, and his, you know, obviously his family's Jewish. So like all of those episodes where they kind of would mingle, and he would make jokes about, you know, that, and then they would like, you know, and it was like, it was very informative for like a young 13-year-old kid that didn't really know any, you know, Jewish people. I just thought that was always interesting.
I had Curb Your Enthusiasm and the Rugrats Jewish special,
the Passover episode.
Jewish holiday special.
Wow.
That was all I had as a kid to understand anything about Judaism.
Yes.
Because I was in the same boat. My parents were not really, we were raised Christian and not even in a meaningful way. So I had and there was just nothing else
Lapsed Christians.
and there was just nothing else like about Jewish communities or people or that sense of humor or anything.
Right.
You know, there was Seinfeld in a way, but not really. I don't think it was ever really.
But
like
Judaism wasn't really a big part of Seinfeld.
No.
Whereas on Curb,
But just things like Passover or all
Right.
these things, you know, these
Right.
Jewish holidays and their traditions, the food, things like that, that is in Seinfeld and then in Curb.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So that's funny. That actually makes me think of my favorite Seinfeld moment or line ever is when Bryan Cranston's character converts to Judaism,
Yeah.
and Jerry's talking to the priest or the father or whoever, whoever he was talking to, and he's like I think he converted just for the jokes, and the father's like, you like, oh, does that offend you as a Jewish man? He's like, no, it offends me as a comedian.
Starts telling Rabbi walked into a bar jokes.
Yeah. Right.
That's like the Curb episode that it just happened to be on the one where the lawyer, where he thinks the lawyer is Jewish because his name is Berg with Paul F. Tompkins. Yeah, and they're talking about it.
That's Paul F. Tompkins?
Yeah.
I just put two and two together.
And that's what
finally.
they're talking
Okay.
about. And Funkhauser's like, he's not Jewish? No. He invited me to Passover. He's just talking about it. He's just saying all the Jewish terms and stuff. It's so funny. They just thought he was. I never let on that I was Jewish. What gave you that impression?
Right. Your last name's Bird.
Yeah, he invited me to his house for Passover. Yeah.
All right, what do you guys got next?
I kind of have a question. Is like, I try not to steal bits too often, but like it's a good way to kind of like, Curb is such a good show to use because no one really watches it, right? Or at least people out here in Indiana, no one watches it. So there's like little like Larry bits that I'll try to like incorporate into my real life. The really weird random one that I would do to try to like get a conversation going is I'll do the grape comment he makes. I don't even know where it is, but he's like, oh, do you guys ever think about grapes? Like grapes are everywhere except pies. You've never seen like a grape pie. And I've asked people that question and they're just like, oh yeah. Like, are there any like conversation starters that you guys use based on the show?
Well, so they're kinda. I mean, like, yes, like we just kind of had that today. So Jimmy texted me a couple hours before I came. I hope you don't mind I bring this up.
Don't bring it up.
Yeah. So so it gets a little chilly in the studio because I keep it kind of cooler because all the equipment that's down here, I got a dehumidifier and a humidifier for my guitars, and it's kind of just always a little colder. So you texted me. I want to read the text because I'm reading it going, God, this is a Curb bit. Like this is a Seinfeld bit. And he texted me, he's like, here's a question. Your studio at home, you keeping it hot or cold? LOL. What's the temperature situation down there? And I'm just like,
yeah.
But like the whole time I'm reading it, I'm just like, this is how Larry gets his outlines for episodes because that's like ripe for the picking, And I texted him back and I said it's usually about 68 degrees here. It's always perfect weather for shorts and a hoodie.
Yeah, well, it is. It's also hot out. Like, the temperature's been going up and down, so I had no clue. But yeah, I think especially not directly from Larry David, but something that I really identified with is I'm always one of those people where it's like, who's going to be there? You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
If I'm ever going to go to like a party or something, like I try to find out without asking who's going to be there because it's like, but I'll always be like, so who, like trying to find out who's going to be there, who's all coming, or like what's the driving situation? Is there parking? I'm always trying to figure out every like annoying detail.
And Susie's like, because I remember that episode when because then Larry tells who the fuck does he tell who wasn't invited to the party, and then they ended Funkhauser because that's Funkhauser's crazy sister episode.
Okay,
and because he's like, oh, who's gonna be there, and Susie's like, you shouldn't ask that. It's just not done. That's just not how it's done. Blah 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 blah. But no bullshit. My friend Joe McConnell, back in the day, like college parties and stuff, I would be like, hey man, you want to come out tonight? Blah, blah, blah. And he would literally text me back, who's all going to be there? Just because and it wasn't like he didn't like somebody. Mm-hmm. It was just like, he wanted to know if it was worth his time to put clothes on and come out for the night. You know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, I don't think so either, at least, but it's just funny that, I feel like that's something that definitely I relate to with Curb and with Larry David. And then also just becoming more like I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I will just ask, well, who's going to be there now? You know what I mean? I used to try to figure out ways or do things like that, but now I'm just like,
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other Larry things that you do in real life? Because I do have one more.
It's like the stop and chats, or I've always been like trying to avoid the stop and chat.
Yep.
So that, but it like putting a name to it and like thinking about it like as a concept, like Larry's such a good way to do that. Yeah, that and a couple other things, but
New Year's, when people say Happy New Year, it's like almost a week later, and it's like, no, you're past, and that's even go ahead, Justin.
Well, I got Happy New Year in February this past year, and I
way too late,
and I wouldn't have even thought of it, but then I was like, oh man, that's Seinfeld too. But
yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me over the weekend. I was at a birthday party, and their birthday is not till tomorrow, and I said happy birthday as we were leaving yesterday. I said, I'm just going to say happy birthday to you now. I'm not going to remember to text you on Monday. And I was told, you got to remember to text her on Monday. You have to text her on her birthday or it doesn't count. And I said, no, people can wish me happy birthday now for next year. I'm good. Just let me know now.
By the way, happy birthday.
Thank you.
See,
I'm all
done.
set.
We were born 1 month to the day apart.
That's
So,
that's literally
that's
how I remember your birthday.
That's how we've
Yeah.
always remembered each other's birthdays.
That's how.
Oh, nice.
That's great.
So speaking of birthdays, that's the one other Larryism that I've actually adopted into real life. So there's an episode, season 4, episode 2, called Ben's Birthday. Ben Stiller.
Oh, yeah.
They're having a birthday party for Ben, and it's 2 weeks after his real birthday. And Larry makes a comment. He's like, just wait till next year. Like it's already over, because Ben goes, well, that weekend we were out of town, and then last weekend we just couldn't get it together. So Christine's throwing it this week, and Christine Taylor's wife. And Larry's just like, like it's already passed. Like it's too late. And I'm going, he's totally right. So they go to the birthday party, which he said bring no gifts. So Larry brings no gift.
Right.
Which I would also follow. If you say don't bring a gift, I'm not bringing a gift.
Exactly.
And then, also like at this point, like we're adults. What the fuck are you bringing a gift over for a birthday party anyways? Like you want to bring some flowers over for a woman, that's fine. But I think once you get over the age of like 18 or 20, there should be no gifts in general. It's an adult party. You want to bring your own beer? You want to bring some flowers for the ladies? That's fine. Otherwise, no gifts. I'm not going to bring them, and I don't expect
buy
them
you a
to
drink,
talk to me.
yeah.
Right.
That kind of
But
thing.
so anyway, so I cut to the chase. They start singing him happy birthday, and Larry doesn't sing along because I think in Larry's side, it's like, I think I'm getting the bit right that like enough people are doing it, and he's just not really into singing happy birthday.
Yeah.
I started doing that about 7 or 8 years ago. I'd go to birthday parties, and whenever they'd bring out the cake, I'd slowly make my way to the back, and I would kind of mouth along.
Oh, that's great.
And because it's just like, this is ridiculous.
Or just
like,
hum.
this whole kind of like, I think this is, I'm just not into this. This just isn't, it's not me. Nobody's ever called me out on it though. So I think I'm a pretty good mouther, for happy birthday.
Pretty good mouther.
Pretty good mouther.
Yeah, anything that like takes everyone's attention away from what they're doing and like pulls them together, like always just kills, whatever's going on. So
I was telling that to Justin. It's like it feels like a Larry thing, but like I can get into board games, I can get into card games, but if I'm at a party and everyone's like, oh, we're all gonna play euchre or whatever, because I'm in freaking Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that's all people do here is play euchre. It feels like it derails the conversations and like it feels like it's a derailing. It's like, no, we're losing momentum here, and it just makes me really angry. It like
I've literally not gone to parties because I know last time I went to that party, they pulled out fucking board games, like deep board games, like 2-hour card games.
You can't do that.
Oh my
Not
god,
at a
I love
party.
those kind of games. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Not like this. Not at a party like this. Oh my god.
Well,
please.
so is it like the whole party's doing it or just
no?
like
There's like
groups?
there's like 10 or 15
Oh,
people
I hate that.
just
Yeah.
having a big like putting down card, like an actual like involved board game going on.
That's too many people playing.
It's an awkward amount of people because then there's a far less amount of people now just standing around talking while this whole game
And
is
they're
going
trying
on.
to talk over the game.
It's
people.
so awkward. Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I'm all about proportions. So if you got 30 people at the party
Sure.
and 10 of them are playing Texas Hold'em, like a bunch of guys are all playing Texas Hold'em, but the other 20 people are doing their own thing and they're in their own groups, that's fine. But if you only got 15 to 20 people at a party and 12 of them are playing like you were saying, that's a little, well,
It's
now
fucked
now it's not,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. And I'm probably not going to be the one. I'm not fucking playing euchre. Listen,
At a party.
here's the deal. By the way, I got a
Yeah.
euchre story real quick. So a friend of mine, 2016, she taught me how to play euchre. By the way, I'd had like 6 shots of Jack Daniels and I'd smoked quite a bit of weed. She taught us at like 10 o'clock at night. There was a group of like 4 or 5 of us. Okay?
Bad timing.
So then like 2 years go by and I've not played euchre since then. And we're at this thing and there's a lot of people there, whatever. And she's like, hey, hey, Rob, like, remember how I taught you to play euchre a couple years ago? You want to play euchre with these 2 other people? And I was just like, I'm not gonna say the person's name, but I was just like, do you have it? Like, I don't remember. I remember the night. I don't
Yeah.
remember a single rule that you taught me with the euchre.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
no.
complicated. It's not that easy.
One of the most
Yeah.
complicated card games ever.
That's why people like doing it. It's because they know how to play it and they like showing off that they know how to play that stupid fucking game. It's so stupid.
I'm at the point now where it's where if I go to parties and people are trying to play like even like drinking card games, let's play like Irish poker, let's play ride the bus, and I'm just like, let's just drink and talk.
Like, we're 30
Why the fuck am
Yeah.
I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not
Yeah.
I'm a
funny.
47-year-old man right now. I'm not doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shop at Costco. Damn it! I'm not
I have a Costco card. I think but I think that should be a written rule. Once you have a Sam's Club card or a Costco card, no more drinking games.
True.
You know, I don't know.
We were using my wife's dad's, and then they cracked down. Now I don't go
Cracked
there.
down,
Now
oh
they
my
cracked
God.
down. Now I don't go there anymore because they cracked down.
Those fuckers.
Yeah, I was gonna
With
try
their-
to sneak in,
their
but it's not worth
Kirkland
it.
Vodka.
Not worth it.
Oh man.
Who's got another thing they want to bring up?
I was just gonna say, Rob, you brought up Ben's birthday party in season 4. I honestly think season 4, other than like Blind Date and maybe Carpool Lane. Well, because I feel like season 4 is kind of low for me in general. I don't really enjoy the producer stuff. It's a season where the arc I'm not into. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
For me, it was really funny at the time, but there's been better seasons since then. So then it kind of goes down.
Yeah.
And then I want to let you guys all talk. The only bit I want to bring, the Carpool Lane's a great episode, by the way.
Oh yeah.
We can talk about that for a little bit. But the one thing that I did want to bring up was the episode prior to Ben's birthday when they first meet Ben, or 2 episodes prior, whatever it was, when they first meet Ben, and they shake hands, and then Ben sneezes,
Mhm.
and Larry won't shake his hand again, and he's looking away. Now, for those of you that know me, I'm always off to the side blowing my nose. I have horrible post-nasal drip and horrible sinus allergy problems. So anybody that's known me for a while knows like I wash my hands quite a bit. So like I'm clean or whatever, you know, and I'm not sick or contagious. But every time I see that clip, I just think about that and I'm like, I've been there before. I know how that goes. Like it's all good. Like I don't take offense to it. But yeah, anyway, so I don't want to bring that up. But yeah, you guys talk about the season 4 producer season.
What do you got, Justin?
Anybody?
All right, no idea.
Bueller?
David Schwimmer is funny in it.
Schwimmer's good.
Yeah, he's good.
Schwimmer's good.
Yeah,
Isn't he just like isn't he just kind of like an asshole?
Yeah.
He's like a depressed asshole.
I think
or
this
something.
says a lot about what we feel about season 4 of Curb.
Yeah.
That dead silence.
I don't
for 5
remember
seconds.
all that much of it. I don't know if it was just the time. What year did that come out? What year was season
That would
4?
have been
2004.
2004.
So I was 14, so I probably was doing other shit.
Oh, you haven't seen this since then.
No, I'm sure I've seen
Sure.
it, but like I don't remember it. You know what I mean? I probably have seen it once before that, or after that. I don't think I remember
The
it.
Carpool Lane's very famous in real life because the baseball game that he took the hooker to,
Yeah,
somebody that was at the baseball game
got somebody exonerated for murder.
tried getting frame pinched for a murder charge,
Yeah,
and they were able to prove that that person could not have committed the murder because they're in the background on the Curb Your Enthusiasm
Oh
footage
man.
of the baseball game.
yeah,
There's a whole story on it. You guys like Google it later. Or
yeah. There's a
something.
whole documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like they found out and they had to like rush the tapes to the court because they were like doing editing still or something. It was like before it even gone live.
Right.
Somebody had saw the story
Right.
and knew that they were filming there that day. And they ended up seeing the guy on like the footage and they ended up being able to prove in a court of law that man had an alibi thanks to Larry David.
But that's a great episode because that's the one where he gets the weed for his dad's glaucoma.
Yep.
And then he gives the jacket to Funkhauser, or was it Danson? It was either Danson or Funkhauser. And then they end up getting, I think it was Funkhauser. And then they get busted by the cops, the drug dog, because he was holding the jacket with the weed in it. And then he goes to court and Larry's got to tell him like it's for my dad's glaucoma. But that was the same judge. He got out of jury duty for talking about black people in a negative connotation. Oh,
Also, real quick with the season, it's the bets or whatever, or like what do they even call it? Like, because he can technically sleep with someone before
the 10-year anniversary.
Now it's like that's funny, but like I don't think any of us really want to watch Larry cheat on Cheryl. But him going after women is so funny. That's what, like, once the divorce happens, it's like, yeah, this is kind of what we want to see, is him like do well with women, but also strike out with women. Because sometimes he's really good, and then other times it's just like hilarious.
Well,
but that,
I mean,
yeah,
only on Curb Your Enthusiasm is he dating Sienna Miller.
Any of those women, I never can understand.
Except Irma.
Yeah, he's like a 70-year-old bald man, and all these women are falling over themselves for Larry David. It's so funny.
Can you imagine living with him?
Right.
Like, I wouldn't last a week.
Yeah.
And I'm as neurotic as he is, you know?
Yeah. Who would give up first?
Well, who was that woman? You guys might have talked about this on another episode, but that black woman he was dating for like one episode in season 12. I mean, I was kind of really digging them. Do you remember?
Juice, that's the one we talked about. They
Yep.
went to the art gallery, and me and you were saying, "Oh my god, I hope they end up with each other because they're just alike."
Yeah,
And then
great.
It was a one-off.
Yeah.
They really dropped the ball with that. I would have loved to see her come back.
Me
for
too.
The last couple episodes.
That was the Dream Scheme episode.
Yeah.
Which was that was a classic
Great,
bit.
great episode.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling tired. I'm just gonna sit down for a minute. It's just so funny. Him and Vince
Yeah.
Vaughn. doing the Dream Scheme.
Oh, that's where Swing Juice comes from.
Yeah. That's so
Yeah.
funny. To the man who's recovering, who also just barely knows them and wants Larry to take care of his child. Watch after my daughter, Larry. I met him once at a party.
Oh my god.
Oh,
That's
man.
so funny.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you back, Larry. I'm rolling over and I'm fucking you. You're not fucking me.
I think it's that episode of season 12 that's like, yeah, I think that's the episode I was thinking of before, where it's like they just hit everything just
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was classic Curb. And
Yep.
that's what we'll text each other. He'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that was like a classic Curb episode."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. The Dream Scheme is so funny.
Yeah, it's funny how the show gets you to like text your friends. Like we were texting a bunch, and obviously we were texting
Yeah.
like.
But and again, I think I'm just kind of realizing this tonight. Like, obviously, the show gets a lot of views because it's been on for so long, and it is very much a part of pop culture. Larry David, for sure.
Oh yeah.
But like, I mean, like, I just might sound arrogant, but like, I got a lot of friends, and I there's not like outside of this conversation here,
Yeah.
we probably would have invited another.
Right.
One or two people on the show, but like offhand, like not other than Jimmy and you guys, like close friends that watch Curb. Nope. So it's almost like it's got like a cult following, but it's way more mainstream. I don't know. It's kind of weird. So
I think a lot of it happened in Larry David had like a renaissance in 2016 when he became Bernie Sanders. Like people were talking about Larry David, who I have never heard talk about Larry David or ever knew who Larry David was.
That's fair.
And he was on SNL every weekend being Bernie Sanders.
Right.
He was out there all the time. So I feel like, and then he was promoting that season that came out in 2017. Yeah. So I feel like he had a bit of a moment there. He was doing the now ill-fated crypto commercials.
Oh my god.
The FTX commercials with Larry David going, "Oh, should we invest in crypto? Well, yeah, maybe." Or was it? "Oh, it's pretty good." He was like doing his Larry David bit for FTX. Yeah, which now the owner's going to jail for the rest of his life.
But that's a good point. I think maybe there's been a resurgence for people our age and younger that didn't watch the show when they were teenagers.
Yeah.
But they're because of
True.
the zeitgeist and him doing Bernie Sanders and stuff, maybe kind of latched on to some of these later
I think
seasons.
HBO Max too, because HBO
Sure.
Max wasn't a thing till a few years ago.
Exactly.
And before that, you had to be an HBO subscriber and have HBO Go. And now a lot more people probably have Max and
Right.
are exposed to it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Juice. All right. What's the next thing you want to bring up?
I quick want to highlight his mother's grave when his father writes "passed away" PAST because it's like $50 a letter or something like that.
Is that when they dig her up with Richard Kind?
Yeah.
Yeah. When
Well,
she has
that's
the funeral and nobody tells Larry. She was
Oh my
buried 2 days
God.
ago and
Yeah.
nobody told
Oh,
Larry.
yeah.
So that's the
Yeah.
Black Swan episode. Juice,
Yeah, that is.
because
Yeah.
The guy. So if you want to, Austin, if you want to tell your Black Swan story, this would be like the perfect time for that.
Oh yeah. Just real quick. I mean, even Justin, I posted this on my Facebook story. I don't know if you saw that at all, but basically at my apartment complex, I have these geese who are laying eggs and making babies, and these little baby geese, and they're really cute. But geese get super aggressive. So last week, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I've been bitten by one before. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they got goose teeth.
And I mean, my heart, like I was getting back from the gym on it was like a week ago today, I think, and it was just like I was walking out and I like kind of barely saw them. They were like by the pond, and then I just see it open its mouth and hiss at me, and I'm just like, frick this. And I'm like, I do not blame Larry at all for if a big black swan was coming at me. Yeah, I would want to hunt. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So I was just like, I don't blame them. I really don't. And is that the one? Yeah, they kill the swan, but is that the onions and the eggs one? It's like you gotta have your onions crispy or something. Is that the same episode?
Might be.
It might be. I know it's the episode when the guy has the heart attack on the 12th hole, and everybody thinks Larry killed him.
I think that
and he figures out it was the Black Swan, and because Mr. I always butcher his name, Tamagashi.
I think it's Takahashi.
Takahashi.
Yeah.
The club owners always sound like Larry. Last, final straw.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a great episode though, because then it all comes full circle with at the end where the gravestone says
Swan killer.
Swan killer, yeah. Bald asshole and swan killer.
What did in season 12? What did the stones say that they dedicated to Larry David?
That's right.
Abuser of women or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, when he's trying to get somebody to.
Because didn't Ted donate one and he wanted to be like anonymous about it?
Yeah, and he wanted
something?
him to put like a message that was. Yeah, because they weren't going to do a message. They were just going to donate and just have a blank brick or whatever. And he wanted a message saying that he was a good guy.
Right.
Somebody was making a message that he was an asshole.
I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, abuser to women, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
That was great.
Yeah.
You got one, Jim?
Oh, I was just gonna make a comment about Jeff.
Oh,
I feel like because with Jeff, watching those early seasons, when I first started watching the show. I mean, I love the show to death. The show would give me anxiety because you just never know who's gonna just freak out at Larry for really no good reason, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this could happen to me in real life, basically. But Jeff, I mean, because wait, not Jerry. No, what's Richard Lewis. For some reason, I want to call him Jerry Lewis. But yeah, Richard Lewis, usually they get along pretty well. But I mean, sometimes he pisses off Richard. But
Right.
Jeff is just like a calm among the storm because they get along so well. So
Right.
I always really appreciate it when Jeff, and I mean, Jeff is just a big fat idiot that cheats on his wife. I mean, I don't think he gets enough recognition sometimes. I mean, I don't think there's anything that he said that was hilarious, but he's
But
one of my.
The show wouldn't work without Jeff Garland as
No.
Jeff Green because he's the glue that bonds everything together. Because it's if you think about it, you think, and this would be a good time to bring up all the ball asshole bits too, but him and Susie, the reason, because the only reason that it works is because Jeff is his manager. So it's in real life or in any other situation, why would Susie and Larry, since they're always bickering, be anywhere near each other? Well, it's Jeff's wife. Jeff's his manager. So it kind of makes sense. Same deal with Cheryl, and I think that's maybe why Larry eventually had them break up, because those whole first few seasons, if you watch it in retrospect, how are you staying married to this man? How does this work? So going back to Jeff, I'm going to bring this episode up in a little bit, but there's the doll episode Doll's hair. Well, and we'll go to that. But there's quite a few of these episodes where like he does something so horrible. And Jeff, what the fuck, man? Hey, by the way, so I got Lakers tickets for, and then just like, so he'll also be in disbelief of what Larry did, but then it quickly transitions because Jeff's the glue. He glues all of these odd things that otherwise wouldn't work. I don't know. That's my take. What do you guys think?
He's disgruntled.
He's disgruntled.
He's always like, let's go out to eat. Where are we eating? And Jeff's always about where we're eating.
Right. And Jeff's not a good guy. I mean, you just said it, Austin. Like, he cheats on his wife. He's always up to something. He's always up to some scheme,
I did want to bring up with that, because this is Jeff, the car periscope episode. I just love, they're just so excited about this car periscope. Like they use them to get in the left lane, and then they just are so happy. And then and you can.
They have a very similar dynamic because you had brought this up earlier with like Frank and Charlie on Sunny. They love each other so much that like no matter what happens, they're still going to be thick as thieves.
Oh yeah.
And they're always the car periscope. What a great episode the car periscope one is. Like, oh my gosh.
Well, and that's the one. Oh, because that's the one where the inventor, his wife is not very attractive, right? That's that episode.
Yeah.
So so what happens? Do they actually trust him more because he has an unattractive wife?
Correct.
Is that how that goes?
Right. Correct.
I mean, with me being an asshole, I would kind of think of it the other way around, because I'd be like, well, he's a good looking guy and he's blind and has bad judgment. He should be married to an attractive woman. I would have just thought of that as the other way around. I don't know what.
Well, that wasn't the blind guy, because by the way, Juice, this is totally random. I watched the episode with the blind guy when they played at the Mint.
Oh, nice.
Recently. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly where we were standing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a club in LA called the Mint.
Okay.
We were there when we were out in LA a couple years ago.
Okay.
And he brought it up to me and he's like, they're at the Mint. And I was like, so I was rewatching it and I was like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
Like we were standing right there.
That's cool.
Yeah. So this is a good time, I think, to bring this up. I just wrote down the bald bits, so everything from, the trick-or-treaters writing bald asshole on the door to obviously Susie constantly calling him a bald asshole. The one I wanted to bring up, and then I will turn it over to you guys, is the trick-or-treat episode where season 2, episode 3, he doesn't want to give the 17-year-olds candy for trick-or-treat, so they trick him, trick or treat. And the police come the next day and he files a report and he goes, this is a hate crime. They hate bald people. And one of the officers is like, sir, I'm bald and I'm not offended. And he looks at him like without skipping a beat and he goes, well, us in the bald community, you're not really a part of the bald community. You actively choose to shave your head. So, and I'm on the floor. I've seen that episode like 5 times and I'm still just on the floor. Like, this is comedy gold. But what are your guys' favorite, like bald, like when people just like yell shit at him, It's the punching bag.
Obviously, Susie says it a lot. I think it's so funny with Susie. Every single time she greets Larry, it's always in earnest. It's always, oh, hi, Larry. And then 10 minutes later, or not even, no, like 10 seconds later, she's calling him a bald asshole. I mean,
I always get surprised during the, and one great point is when Susie hosts that dinner and the 2 boring people are in the middle.
I got that right now. Middling.
Okay. Yeah.
No, but that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I love the restaurant stuff with the bald cook. That was good.
Who wears the toupee?
Mm-hmm.
They catch him outside, and then he even says to Larry, he's like, "You strike me as somebody who, wouldn't want to hire me because I wear a toupee, so I just didn't wear the toupee." Like that's fucking golden.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the bald bits, there's a lot less of them as the series goes on.
Right.
He gets called bald asshole or gets made fun of for being bald, like in the first couple seasons, all the time. And I mean, I get it. You know, you don't want to just keep beating a dead horse, but I do miss those. I feel like they needed more of those because it was just always so funny, especially Susie. But everything Susie calls him is always a riot. And then she's like, you know, fuck you, and then slams the door in his face. And then Jeff is, to your point, Jeff is like, well, where are we eating? You know, what are we getting for lunch? Let's go. Like we have a meeting at 2:00. We got to go to that office. Like they just move right past it. It's so funny.
With some bald stuff, the episode after the TiVo guy, the N-word episode, which is an insane episode.
Yes.
And the guy shaves Jeff for no reason. And then they the waitress at the hospital is mean to him because he's bald or something.
I think it's season 10. Isn't Jeff has a shaved head too then, doesn't he? That's when everyone's calling him Harvey Weinstein and all the women keep spitting on him and calling him an asshole and shit and a rapist, and he's just walking, he's like, what the fuck did I do? What happened? That is so funny. That has one of the best Leon jokes also, I think, of the whole series, because that's the one where Larry is wearing the MAGA hats just to get out of public appearances and out dealing with people. And then Leon says, you never see anyone wearing those hats backwards. They want to see it when you're getting your ass kicked. You want to see it coming. When someone's gonna kick your ass, you want to see it coming. And I was like, damn, I do never see anybody wearing the hats backwards. Now that I think about it. But yeah, anything with Jeff is always so funny. Just the way he gets shit on. He gets shit on by Susie. He gets shit on by everybody. It just doesn't bother him. He just always keeps going.
She always calls him a fat fuck.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, and how in season 12, because he had dyed his hair.
Yeah.
And Larry brings up, he's like, why are you dyeing your hair? You know, like you had gray in it yesterday. Now it's all black.
The shoe polish they use for the hair polish they use, the hair dye. Yeah.
For the jockey.
Can you believe in it's slightly off topic, but in the final episode where Susie came wheeling into the courtroom as his disabled girlfriend or whatever, I just couldn't believe that Susie would do that. I was like, Susie would not agree to this, to put on a wig and roll in there in a wheelchair with oxygen and pretend to be a whole new character. I was like, wait a minute, what did they tell Susie to get her to do this? Because she would never. She'd say, fuck you, Larry, I'm not doing that.
Right. Well, you could imagine off screen, maybe Jeff was like, well, Larry can't go to prison because, you know, he's my client and like we have less money. But then at the same time, and me and Juice have brought this up before, like, manager for what?
Yeah. Like, does Jeff have any other clients?
Like first of all, Larry did the Seinfeld reunion. That actually happened. He tried in season 2 to get that Aren't You Evelyn with Julia Louis-Dreyfus going. That never happened. We'll get to that in a little bit. But like, he doesn't work. He doesn't. Manager of what? Yeah. Like, what do you do?
Larry David's specific manager. Only Larry David.
And Lewis. He became Lewis's manager.
Oh yeah, I guess. And Lewis.
And he told Jeff that Lewis is high maintenance.
Oh yeah.
Lewis is high maintenance. I love his dark outfits. He's always wearing all black.
Always in black.
He's always like skulking, walking around. He just comes in frazzled at all the time. He's about to go be late for something, but he's desperately and madly in love.
Right. All right, Jimmy, you got one you want to bring up?
What was the question?
Anything. Anything about Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I talked about Richard Lewis. Who else? What episode? Maybe you guys remember what episode it's from. I could not remember what episode. I guess I could try to Google the phrase, but what episode was it when? Was that the one with the blind moving one? The one where Leon tells Larry that he's got to stand up for himself and he's got to open up that asshole, pull it open, step inside, eat Snickers and throw wrappers all over the place, spray paint the walls of the asshole. What episode was that?
The bit. I don't remember the episode, but I totally remember that.
I cannot remember the episode. I just remember that bit.
And that might have been the bit that then I was totally in love with.
Yeah, I've always remembered that bit of you got to open up their ass, step inside, eat Snickers bars, and throw the wrappers all over the place. That's so funny. Just what's your favorite like Leon moment? I think that's my favorite moment of Leon. Or we were talking about this before when he's hanging out with Larry on the cast of the Seinfeld reunion and has no idea who Jerry Seinfeld is. He's been living with Larry David for like a decade and doesn't know who anybody doesn't know what Seinfeld is.
So he even brings it because I just rewatched these episodes and like there's an episode where he walks up to Larry and he goes, hey, it's one of my buddy's birthdays and he loves Seinfeld. I've never seen the show myself.
Oh, yeah.
Call him and wish him a happy birthday.
Oh, yeah.
And his wife, oh, damn, or whatever, something like that. And then he calls the wife and he finds out Larry's fucking her, blah, 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 blah. But like, calls it back. And I'm so glad I rewatched some of these because, 15 years later, 5 seasons later, Leon, towards the finale, finally watches all the Seinfeld episodes. And it's like, man, that's a deep callback from like 15 years ago.
That's when he's asking Jerry in the courtroom,
Yeah.
where the fuck tape's at? Where the fuck tape's at? I
know you and Elaine were fucking.
Yeah. All those girls, you were tapping a new ass every week. And Jerry just goes with it. I do have the tapes, you're right. But they're all on laser disc. You can't watch them. He said, is there any way you can convert them? He said, no. No, you can't.
But my favorite Leon word ever that I use as a verb all the time is lamping. What are you doing? Oh, I'm lamping. Because chilling, you could actively be doing stuff while you chill, but you're lamping, you're in place. You ain't moving. You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
What are you guys' favorite Leon bits?
I guess it's a longer bit. Maybe that's the definition of a bit, but the business, I forget what the business is called, but where Larry's driving him around, and so the people can go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
All right, look that up. But I mean, Leon. Listen, Leon. Again, integral part to the show, the entire series. In fact, we just saw this episode earlier where Larry loses the house in the divorce, and Larry's like, "Well, we got 24 hours to vacate the premises," and Leon's like, "Oh man, like I love this house. I just got used to this," And it's just like contextually at the time, like he's been living with Larry for maybe 2 years at this point, 3 years, and it's just like when all the rest of the blacks left, Leon stayed. And I love that line when they all leave because she thinks somebody else is giving him a blowjob in the car, the blowjob episode.
Oh, yeah.
And they all finally leave, and she's got cancer and everything. And then, so he's like trying to get rid of Leon, and he's standing on the front porch, and he's like, "So, well, what are you gonna do?" And Leon's like, "Man, I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna eat this Taco Bell." And I'm just like, this is great.
Gotta go. That's what it was called. Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And he did the house husband stuff. I forgot about that too.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And he's kind of a house husband for Larry because I think that's their symbiotic relationship is that he stands up for Larry. Larry stands up for Jeff. I mean, and then of course you throw Richard in there. I mean, it really they are really good friends, obviously in real life and in the show. And it's just nice. I like it a lot.
That's a good way to put it because it's like once Cheryl left, Leon's always in the house and he's supportive to Larry in ways that Cheryl was not. Because she'd be like, "Why do you got to be like that? Like Larry, come on, Larry." When Leon's like, he's all about what Larry wants to do.
Yeah, he's definitely enabling Larry's bad behavior because he just wants to go along with the ride and just kind of egg him on and see what happens, and just is using it, just to have sex and just do whatever. He's always got an ulterior motive. He's always tapping that ass on somebody. It's just whenever I think of Leon, I always think of tapping that ass. You tapping that, Larry?
Big Johnson community.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up Danny Duberstein, who really died of Groat's disease. But then he portrays Danny Duberstein because Michael Richards thinks he might have Groat's disease. Like, I mean, again, that to me, that's classic Leon.
Yeah.
You know, because he goes along with the bit. You know,
and it's crazy that they like worked that whole situation into the show because that was such a shocking situation with Michael Richards.
Right.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
just crazy that like that they were able to work that into the show.
Right.
And handle it the way they did. They, because what are you going to do? You can't do the Seinfeld reunion stuff
Without
without
Michael
Richards, but like you can't pretend that never happened.
And that was like 2.5 years after the incident.
Right. But I mean, like he was like blackballed,
Exactly.
for a decent reason.
Right. And he has been since then.
And he kind of has been since then. Yeah. I mean, so the way they handled it was really funny. Just having him interact with Leon.
Totally.
Danny Duberstein.
Because I feel like we see George and Elaine a decent amount. I don't know how you guys feel, but like I would have liked to maybe see a little bit more Jerry. Like I love Jerry Seinfeld, so I don't know how you guys
going so well. Yeah.
I mean, when Jerry showed up in the finale, it was like, oh yes, it's like a warm blanket. When Jerry shows up. I mean, again, like out of the Seinfeld cast, Julia's in the show the most, for sure. And then I would say Jason, because Jason was in season 2 as well. And then Michael and Jerry are just in the reunion season, and then Jerry's in the finale. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, like to have gotten a little more. But I think honestly though, because like as much as I love their dynamic in the finale and everything, and in the reunion season, I think if Larry was in the show, it maybe would become overstuffed because like they yin and yang, but he yin and yangs with Leon and yin and yangs with Marty and Lewis and Jeff, and it's maybe a little too much. I don't know, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into the Bear Midriff, I think.
Let's do it.
wow.
Yeah, just so many great bits in that episode alone. Like the initial conversation with her, which is just classic Jerry and Larry. It's so good. And then he's in the house, he's peeing on he's on Jesus, and anyone else?
It's a classic episode.
Yeah.
It's so classic.
The tear on the painting of Jesus.
Oh my
tear.
God.
So funny.
Yeah.
It's great.
The whole the honking in front of the car, and then it all comes back full circle when he's with her and her mother, and the whole flashback.
Right.
Well, that's probably my second favorite ending is when he's falling off the roof. And the girl is just like, oh.
Yeah. That's a good one. What do you guys got? What do you got next?
What did you speaking of like the flashbacks, how did everybody feel about the finale? I know we covered the finale.
Oh, sure.
But the format of the finale where, I know Seinfeld's finale was like universally kind of, that's the running joke, was they did that clip show in the courtroom, and it just, it kind of is a universal joke that people didn't really like the clip show. And so I get that taking that on again and kind of making fun of that and doing a clip show again. Obviously the redemption at the end, and they talk about, well, we should have done this for Seinfeld. We should have had them get out. I get that, but do you think that doing the clip show, I think that was what took off a lot of points for me. It was still funny.
Sure.
The idea, I think they should have gone, they didn't go far enough with it. If they were going to do like a clip show, they shouldn't have cut back to the clips and done the whole clip show, but they should have had more people that Larry has wronged through all the seasons come back and bite him in the ass as like a total, all these people came back, which they did do, but it was like 3 people. It was like Mocha Joe and the little girl, and this was a couple.
Oh, we'll get some Mocha Joe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I think they didn't go far enough with it.
I get what you're saying. Like instead of doing 3, you should have done 30.
Sure,
because
there's
the whole episode, so many people that he's offended.
Right. The whole episode should have been the trial, or just pick like 10 people, and this is how Larry David ruined their lives going forward. Talk about some other stuff that happened, make up some stuff that happened off screen that Larry David
Right.
caused. So I don't know if I get what they were going for, kind of parodying the Seinfeld finale. But I guess what was your guys' opinion on that? Did that work for you? I mean, it is parodying something that nobody liked. Is that justification enough, or did you just also not like this? Like, I just also didn't like the clip show here. I didn't like it in Seinfeld, and I didn't like it here.
By the way, Jeff and Susie's kid's name's Sammy. I just googled.
Oh yeah, Sammy.
Why I couldn't pull that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Jimmy, as soon as I saw them doing that, I was like, wait, they've already done this, but they did it better. So the fatwa, when the fatwa guy, he kind of does a way better version of that.
Yeah.
He's kind of quick, but it's like he talks to a ton of people, and I think that's done way better than what they did in the finale.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, again, I like the finale, but to Jimmy's point, like, I wish the ripple effect, they would have like focused on that for another 5 minutes or so of just like all the people's lives that I mean, like, I think of like, the nanny episode with Sherry O'Terry where she plays the and like, I mean, shit, like, going back, there's so many people's lives that have
wheelchairs.
Been, exactly.
Yeah. Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah. Oh my God, Rosie, Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Jay Fox.
Yeah, I feel like they should have just committed to it more. I just couldn't believe they were showing the actual clips. Like,
Right.
it was an actual clip show. Like, I haven't seen a clip show in so long.
Right.
Except for when people make fun of it in sitcoms and things and say
And I think that's
nobody
what
likes
Larry-
clip shows.
I think that's what Larry was trying to do.
I get it, but it's just like, so I guess my overall then feeling would be for the whole finale, which I think I said when we were talking earlier, is that it was great for a season finale. It just was not a good series finale. Like, that's the series finale. But I get where they were going with it. If that was like the ending of season 10 or 8, sure. Great finale, hilarious. But yeah, but the series finale, just that I could not believe I was sitting there watching. I could not believe they're actually doing a clip show with flashbacks to the old footage. It was so funny. It was like funny, but like I was just like, oh, I'm so frustrated.
I guess they did that for the end of season 5 too, which I kind of forgot about, when he's dying or something. I guess they do that really quickly.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Sure.
Which goes back to what you were saying, Austin. Maybe at
Maybe
that
that was the
time,
end.
Larry was like, I don't know if we're going to come back.
Yeah.
I asked that to Rob when we were talking earlier, and Rob looked it up and said that, or you knew.
No,
he looked it
I
up,
knew
yeah.
because Larry's done a lot. I mean, again, like, I think that's how we all. I think I knew for sure this was the final season going in because Larry was doing press for it, which he never does.
Right.
Yeah,
He was on Bill Simmons' podcast, and he was on, a couple other podcasts, and he was on Kimmel, and he was on, doing his thing, the Today Show with Susie, and it was like, oh, they actually got Larry David to do press for this season. And that's, to me, and he talked about it, like going in, like this was
it's
going to
gonna
be
the
it.
end. Yeah,
And Susie Essman was talking about how she read the final outline and she got like emotional knowing it was going to be the final. And again, there's a million reasons maybe he just felt it was time to end it.
Sure.
But I mean, they're not getting any younger, not being ageist or anything. And I'm sure he's tired. He wants to enjoy his life. But I think also at the same time, and I know this is controversial to bring up because Jerry Seinfeld's gotten in some hot water recently bringing these comments up about comedy. But it's like, what was the term you used? The show's gotten a little more PG over the years.
Yeah. I don't think it's gotten more PC. I think it's just gotten more PG. They don't really have these storylines like in the first couple seasons where people are dying, people are getting called all the names. There's an N-word episode like that. Nowadays it's like Larry's frustrated on the golf course and him and his buddies, like most of it takes place at the golf course. They're not going out to like New York or exotic locations.
Right. It's still good.
Yes.
It's just like there's an episode when he calls somebody a cunt in the first couple seasons.
Right.
Yeah.
That's her obituary.
There's the episode with Bob, the old SNL writer, who's got that thing. He gives him $5,000 because once his dad dies, he's going to inherit a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And the guy literally has a fucking heart attack in the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
There was
Larry's like gets framed as a pedophile.
how about the Holocaust Survivor episode with the guy with Survivor?
Where they're arguing over who had it harder.
That's the kind of edge that kind of got a little dulled later on. Like they weren't going, or like the Jewish girl, the ski lift episode.
Yeah,
you know?
Nuts.
Yeah.
One of us has to jump off. What are you fucking nuts?
And he's eating edible panties or whatever.
Yes.
He doesn't want to share them. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
But the guy, the restaurant episode. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think it got more PG. I don't think it was like due to any exterior factors. I also just think it was due. They're all in like their 60s and 70s. Everyone on that show is like 60 plus. I mean, how much can you have 60-year-olds running around, acting like this?
We lost both Bob Einstein and Richard Lewis in real life while this show has been on the air.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think the show kind of got a little less edgy, or did it stay the same? And like, where are we at with a comedy show like this now?
Yeah, you got anything on that, Austin?
Oh, I was hoping you had something. No, I also wanted to let you talk, but yeah, because season 12 they seemed reined in a little bit. I mean, yeah, I feel like when they first, I don't know, I think it's kind of like that 2017 a little bit, because there's an episode called the N-word, episode or whatever. I mean, I think in 2017 they were playing into, because I mean, Larry David himself is, well, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I think he's pretty liberal, but I think they like making fun of woke stuff, but then also maybe like thought it would get old if they made fun of it too much, which I mean that could get old. I think it's kind of when they came back in 2017 and post, they seem to be a little bit more tame. And like, other than, what do we have nowadays that's not afraid, other than like
other than Sunny?
Sunny, what's that animated show that's been going on for like years and years and years and years?
Family Guy. I don't know. The Simpsons.
South Park.
Name any of them. South Park.
South Park. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Even South Park has gotten, and it's very off topic, but even, I don't know. Yeah, I think that there's definitely still, I definitely think you can still make old Curb Your Enthusiasm now. I think you could still make all these shows now. There's like, I think you should leave. There's shows where people are pushing, there's the boundaries are still being pushed. But I do think that certainly you would take some, account of like, do we need to make another episode called the N-word episode? You know what I mean?
Do we need to do a whole episode with the word cunt being used constantly?
Yeah, and maybe that had more shock back then, and it doesn't now. People are saying that now.
Right.
That's like
people
slang.
say that on Twitter every day.
It's not. Yeah, so it just doesn't hit the same. I think it's just a combination of they're getting older.
The
show's been going on longer, and then some things just aren't as shocking anymore. It isn't shocking to have that.
That's a really good point
on
because
TV.
The shock factor, I think, HBO, when the show first started, there was nothing like it.
Right.
But there also wasn't social media.
Right.
Where now it's like you can just go on Twitter
and
see and hear all of those things.
People say way worse things than Larry David every day.
And they mean them.
Yeah. And they
it's not a comedy.
It's not a comedy act. Yeah, I think so. I think how did anyone feel about something I think I noticed, or I mean that last shot of the 12th episode, so where they're all on the plane arguing at the end, to me that sort of symbolized that like Larry David has kind of, it's always been Larry David, he's the freak, he's the asshole, he's the odd one out, and everyone around him is like trying to deal with him and they're all normal. I think he's ruined them all. Those people are all now like Larry David, and they all are bickering about windows and bickering about being able to see on the plane, and that last wide shot of all of them in a row, just all arguing and yelling at each other on the plane. I think it just shows like Larry David is now, these people are now like him, and he's like, they all share the same personality now with him.
That final shot kind of felt like an ad to me. Did you guys notice
the Delta? The plane? Yeah.
Sure. But that's a really good point, because I've always said this about shows like, shows that kind of like overstay their welcome. Like they should have just done 6 seasons and not done 8, or just done 7 seasons and not done 9. The thing that I've always said is a lot of times the actors start playing caricature versions of their characters, like towards the end.
Like Ross.
A good example I always use is the show Monk. Huge fan of the show Monk.
Yeah.
And I always felt like Ted Levine and Stottlemyre towards the last couple seasons, he was really playing into that character even more. And the lieutenant, I can't remember the character's name, but like the lieutenant character, he was even more of a goofball, more of a dummy, more, whatever. And I've always noticed that with shows. But again, Larry David's a genius, like in the literal definition. And I think he knew we're not going to have that happen with this show where it like overstays its welcome. So I do like the fact, and yeah, to your point, they're all in their mid 70s.
Yeah.
A lot
60s,
of them,
60s, 70s. Yeah.
So,
yeah, no lessons learned.
All right. Who's got another thing they want to bring up?
Justin?
We could talk about the rat dog.
Let's talk about the rat dog.
Kevin Farley.
Oh my God.
Oh man. Austin and I were talking about this. Like, I did IMDb him and did get some things, but like, why is he not in more stuff? He was so good when he first comes over to the house and he's like acting like they're going on a date. Or yeah, he first overhears that they're going to a kid's performance of, is it Sounded
Grease?
Grease, yeah.
Grease.
Just, I love Grease. Can I come?
He was
I'll
like
take
the
him.
maintenance guy or something.
Yeah, Exterminator.
Exterminator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
then,
gosh.
and he's got this the sign language episode too, where he's like makes the wrong sign, and the guy thinks he's telling him to F himself or whatever, and and so he just has this whole bickering with the wife, with the signer, and then she's got her little dog, and then they go to Greece, and because of the rat dog, the dog runs out. Kevin Farley stomps on the dog. It's unbelievable.
It's great. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, I feel like every show should have him like guest star one time. Just have the Kevin Farley do his thing.
Definitely. Yeah, wish we'd have got more of that for sure.
Right.
Anybody else got any thoughts on the rat dog episode?
I'm trying to think because I've honestly only seen that one.
We watch it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that one.
I was saying, if not, I got some curveballs. I'm just gonna throw out some bits and just let you guys tear them apart and have at them.
Yeah.
So I think this is a great time because like I really want to bring this one up for sure, and I know this is on Jimmy's list, so I'll let Jimmy lead with it, but I'll just name the name of the episode, and that is season 2, episode 8, called Shaq, and where he trips Shaquille O'Neal at the Lakers game. But that's the episode where he decides to go get coffee with Cheryl.
Oh yeah.
So you want to take it over from there?
I mean, you had it in your intro, but yeah, that's one of the best scenes is where he's at the coffee shop and he asks what a latte is, and the barista says, "Well, it's milk and coffee." Milk and coffee. Oh, milk and coffee. Who'd have thought? That's when he's ordering the vanilla bullshit. Yeah. I don't know, one of those vanilla bullshits.
I've done
vanilla
that.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vanilla bullshit. I ordered the vanilla bullshit for so long after that. Like whenever my friends or anybody would be like, "Oh yeah, what do you want from coffee?" I was like, "I have vanilla bullshit." I don't know. Yeah, the vanilla bullshit was great. I think it was you meeting Cheryl at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Cheryl's like, I don't like this new version.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Yeah, that was when he was like
just
unafraid.
doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that because he was so unlucky with the whole Shaq thing.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want now. Because like, what could be worse than putting out Shaquille O'Neal for 2 months? You know. I got a very serious question for you guys.
Okay.
Very, very serious question. Do you respect wood?
I said that yesterday.
Nice.
Do you respect wood?
You
So
said it
good.
naturally. You worked it into a conversation naturally.
Oh yeah.
Somebody was actually disrespecting wood.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, somebody did set a glass without a coaster on a wood table, and I said, "Do you respect wood?"
Ever since that, I do have coasters now. Because I've learned the consequences of just setting drinks on tables with no coasters, living like a heathen.
Yeah, but you can't talk about it to people because then you sound like a psycho if they haven't watched Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Exactly.
Do you respect wood? What the fuck are you talking about?
I might need psychiatric help.
Yeah, just use a coaster.
Side sitting. I actually started doing that before I seen that episode. It's actually really nice. If whoever's single on the call, it actually kind of makes it way more intimate. Or Jimmy, did you say you're married?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember what was side sitting.
Instead of being on opposite ends of the booth, you actually sit on the same side of the booth.
Oh yeah, I don't do that. It feels so wrong. I don't know, it feels wrong.
It's great.
Yeah. I'm sure it is. I just can't do it. It feels wrong. It feels weird. It feels weird with Rob sitting here and I'm looking at us.
He doesn't know if he should look at me or look at the computer.
We're side sitting right now, so I don't know which way I should be looking. I'm living it out right now.
There's so many things we've learned from Curb.
Yeah.
You know, like side sitting and respecting wood. And, you know, listen, if I have some 17-year-olds that come to my porch and want candy, I'm just going to give them the fucking candy.
Yeah.
But so I got to bring this up. The doll episode, the Judy doll, for me, that was like, because like rewatching them, it's like the first season's good and getting into 2 is good. For me, it's the doll. That's the episode that's like the turning point that kind of like, okay, this is what the show's going to be going forward. You know, it's like, because it was all this, to use the term, observational humor. But the doll is what really launches like Larry being basically like a sociopath and a psychopath or whatever adjectives or adverbs you want to use about Larry David's character on the show. To the point, I mean, it's bit after bit after bit. He cuts the doll's hair, you know, Jeff goes, I mean, again, classic Jeff. We talked about this earlier. He does a major fuck up, right? And Jeff's just like, Larry, what the fuck? I think I can help you. You know, Sammy's got one of those dolls at the house, like, no problem. So they go, they get it, the shelf falls, and then they take the hat off the doll. Larry puts it in his pants, and then he's itching his genitals for the rest of the episode. The bathroom door that doesn't lock. Everything's got a setup and a payoff.
Yeah.
And like that's the rest of the whole series.
Yeah.
Culminating to the end where because they're making him, his doctor's got him drinking all this water, and he's got the water bottle, and they're going to part 2 of the movie. He puts the water bottle in his pants. The little girl comes into the bathroom and hugs him. Mommy, mommy. You know, Larry's got something hard in his pants. And it ends with him trying to crawl out. Dun, dun, dun. You know, crawling out the back. And it's like, this episode to me is like, if you're going to start watching Curb, maybe start here. You know, because that's where the show goes. What do you guys think about the doll episode?
I haven't seen it since that was one of the ones I was going to try and rewatch for tonight, but didn't get to it. But yeah, I haven't seen it in years, so got to rewatch it.
And that's season
7.
Yes.
Yeah, because I was looking at this list and I was looking at some of the episodes before that, like car salesman, Thor, Trick or Treat. Like, because Justin, when we did watch the show when we were playing through Spider-Man, I don't think we made it too far into season 2 because I think it started off like maybe not the strongest. But honestly, looking at the doll forward, I mean, I think there is like a momentum for sure. Like, yeah, because like season definitely. 3, we got Benadryl Brownie and
oh my God.
Paris Attack and
Lewis's girlfriend, she won't take medication.
Yeah.
Brownie.
I love his girlfriends. I just love everything. Like, it's always fucking something. I'm sure he was madly in love with her. I don't remember it, but I'm sure could be the one.
Well, speaking of Lewis, you brought up the car salesman episode.
Mhm.
He decides to start selling cars for a living. And Lewis comes down and he's in the middle of a sale. And Lewis comes down and he goes, "This is a fucking joke, right?" And like Larry's like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm with a customer." And he's like, This is a practical joke, right? Like, I mean, what are you doing? You know, "Excuse me, sir, you'll have to wait a moment. I'm with a customer." And it's just like, what the fuck?
When Lewis says, "I need a plan and I need a commitment," or what is it? It's I need a plan and a confirmation.
Oh yeah,
The
confirmation.
confirmation.
Yeah, the confirmation.
The confirmation with the plan.
Yep. I need a plan and a confirmation. I got to go through 6 layers to get bureaucracy to talk to you.
Well, Rob, you mentioned learning something from Larry. I mean, it's like Larry says all these things that all of us young guys could say, but I mean, Larry's also like an old, bald.
He's looked 65 since he was 16.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's fun about being us, a couple of young, good-looking guys all on this call, is we can all kind of act like Larry and like be like straightforward and kind of bold in some of the things we say, but it's just kind of fun because you can kind of get away with it, Like I feel like I've learned a lot in terms of like conversation starters, like kind of even like standing up for yourself or like standing up for social situations. Like people say things, and then like if we were Larry David, it's like Larry David wouldn't let them just say that and get away with it,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there's so much small talk and just things that you go through in your everyday life that if you just pulled that thread slightly, it would just be a horrible situation. There's so many things that we just gloss over in conversation and just interaction with other people that Larry David just does not gloss. That's really the whole premise of the show, is that he just doesn't let anything go.
Yeah.
You can't, if there's a loose thread of anything, he has to pull on it, and it just messes him up every time.
He says all the things people think but don't say.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he also
And-
says things you would never think to say.
Exactly.
Because why would you even care? It's like he wasn't even just let like the smallest thing go by. Everything is such a big deal.
Well,
there.
when he's dating, I can't remember her first name, but the she's in the Black Family. When he starts dating her,
Loretta?
after him and Cheryl break up, and they go
Is
to that.
Vivica Fox character?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what was the character's name?
I thought he was.
Anyways,
yeah.
and they go to that. He sees that ad for that couples therapist or whatever, and he realizes like because she's on this talk show and she's like, this person's petty and this person's and like gives this laundry list of things, and then they go and see her, and he's hoping like she's gonna get them to break up because he's literally the poster child for all of those things, and it's just like, how do I be more like that in real life,
Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is like I think a slightly later episode at some point. I don't know what episode it's in. He's at probably the country club, and he's like, "Can you ask the chef to like do something to the eggs?"
He brings his own eggs.
He brings his own eggs.
He brings his own eggs because he doesn't like their eggs.
Well, and then you're talking about the Cobb salad episode when he's like, "I don't want eggs and I don't want bacon," and he offends the guy in the wheelchair because he said that his dad, Bob Cobb or whatever, invented the Cobb. You talking about that one?
So close. Well, it's like he asks the chef to like cook it a certain way, and then he's like, but waiter, see how the chef's face reacts, or like ask him a question.
Yeah.
And like that's like these physical like nonverbal things that speak volumes of like, well, no. If you're not okay with it, then you're not okay with it, and your face is telling me. Do you guys remember that? What I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's when he brings his own eggs. Is that the disgruntled?
That's he's talking. You're talking about the Cobb. You're talking about the Cobb salad episode where he's like, I don't want the eggs and I don't want the bacon. But if the chef, if he kind of gives like, then it's okay. I'll get something else. Like come back and let me know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that brings his own egg episode.
Yeah, that's.
Well, and then there's also the episode where they're all getting ready to go to the golf course and they want to beat this one guy out there. They're in the clubhouse. Because this guy takes fucking forever.
Yeah.
I think that's the Black Swan episode.
It is.
Yeah.
And Richard Kind has this like complicated order.
Yeah.
It's like
Is it crispy onions?
Crispy onions.
Yeah.
Yeah, crispy onions.
Crispy
Yeah.
onions. So good.
Similar to that, how about when he's ordering I think it's the same episode with the eggs where he's ordering the breakfast and breakfast ends at 11.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah.
11.
Yes.
And then when the waitress finally gives in and they're able to get breakfast, everybody else says, "Oh, I want breakfast." Everyone starts standing up and wanting breakfast.
Right.
And they do the whole "I am Spartacus" thing at the end.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
disgruntled.
yes.
I'm disgruntled.
But it's so true because I mean I learned this from Big Daddy in 1999 when that movie came
The
out.
McDonald's
When he
breakfast.
takes him to McDonald's and what are you, my therapist? Take a walk.
Yeah.
But like it's so true because me and Juice talked about this on the show once. Like I no joke, I rolled up to Burger King one time and I even had a coupon, 2 croissant sandwiches for $4, and I was like 5 minutes late. And they, and it was like a thing. And it's just this is dumb.
You would say, sorry, I missed it. I'll come back. And Larry David would say, you telling me you're really throwing the eggs out at 11:01? You're taking the eggs off the grill. He would cause a whole stink about the timing, which is, I guess that's what that episode, that bit was. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's the whole, and that's what's great about the show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll see the effects of Curb Your Enthusiasm over the next decade.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of how this show has really, just done a lot, I think, for culture and observational comedy, just like Seinfeld did.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you guys, but I hear this from people occasionally, something will happen and somebody will go, that's like a Seinfeld episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's me and Justin every every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like because with Seinfeld it introduced observational comedy, but then this is like societal comedy because the things we do in society. Oh, actually, a really bad habit that I've started doing at work is and this is such a Larry David thing. So when and I really want to know your guys' opinions on this. When anyone asks me how my day was, or no, they'll say, "Hey, how's it going?" What else am I gonna say other than good? Right?
Yeah.
Even if I'm not doing good, it's just a transactional thing. We're literally walking past each other in the hallway, right? So whenever anyone ever asks me how I'm doing, I say good, but I don't ask them back because either they are or they aren't, and even if they aren't, they're not going to tell me that they aren't. And there's even certain people I've started taking back ways into the office just so I don't have to do, because it's the same thing every day.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, how's it going? Good. How's it going? Good. And if sometimes when you don't say it, they're kind of like, what the heck? And sometimes if you're literally walking by the person, you can kind of get away with saying, I might be a sociopath myself. Your guys' thoughts on that? I mean,
I couldn't agree more because so I always do. I mean, I always start shows off with how's it going, everybody? Welcome to whatever. But
then you move past it. You keep going.
But then you move past it. But to your
you don't
point,
wait for the response.
I usually just say, hey, what's up? Hey, what's going on? I usually do what's going on when I'm really with people because they're just hey, what's up? Because to do the how are you? If it's somebody you haven't seen in a while, sure. But if it's somebody I just saw 4 days ago or yesterday or last week, plus two, it's I think there's a difference between close friends of yours, so so if Jimmy was hey Rob, how you doing? Oh man,
oh yeah.
I just found out so-and-so's got cancer. I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give him a real answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas if it's maybe a work associate or just casual conversation, the waitress at McDonald's or whatever, that's you're not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in my life now, I've fully transitioned to just living the dream, man. Whenever anyone asks me, hey, how's it going? Living the dream.
That's Midwest. According to Midwest versus everybody on Instagram, that's code for your life is not going very well.
That's what I use at work. That's what I use at work every day.
Yeah.
Oh, how was your weekend? Or how are you doing? Living the dream.
Yeah. Because squeeze it easy is my goodbye, but I need the juice is hello, just a one word or a little phrase, and then but it doesn't. There's no question, so there's no response. Right. It's just
But it's so true. And I wish more people would just be honest. Like, we don't need to get into a 20-minute conversation, but doing all right, doing average, doing above average. Maybe people, we should be a little more honest with people, I guess.
Sometimes I'll go, blah, and they'll just go, and I'll just keep going. They're like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, blah. And I'll just keep walking.
Oh man,
I love it. So we got to bring this episode up. Is it your favorite episode of the show? It's my favorite episode.
Probably, or
So
at least one, like top 5, top 3.
Yeah, if it's not our number one favorite, it's in our top 3, top 5. We've talked about this episode at nauseum for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And just how fucking amazing it is. And that is the episode called Freak Book, where it's Ted Danson's birthday and Larry gets him a Mondo Freaks.
Mondo Freaks. Yeah.
That's the one with the limo driver.
Yeah, that's with John McEnroe. Yeah.
They get in an argument because they are going to have the same gravestones next to each other. And then Larry wants to move from Susie. And
there was the Hispanic crying family mourning in the limo with John McEnroe sat back there with them.
He shows him
like in the middle of them.
They're going to the Paul McCartney concert.
Yep. That's the Freak Book. Just Jeff and Larry dying laughing on that couch at the party, just reading the Mondo Freaks is so funny. And then John McEnroe laughing at it.
I think the reason it's my favorite too is because it's like I could totally see that happen. Like if we were at a party situation and like this was we would be sitting there reading the Mondo, just like laughing and like with other friends or whatever it is. It's so relatable. And yet it's like,
and yet it's so alien and bizarre. Who would ever buy that? Why would they make a book called Mondo Freaks with like just like misshapen people, like people with defects? It's just so, it's so weird. The premise is so weird, and John McEnroe is in the middle of it.
I've never asked this or said this out loud, but I've always thought like maybe it was like they wanted to just like Ripley's Believe It or Not, but they maybe couldn't get the rights to say that or something like that, so they just went with Mondo Freaks. But at the same time, it's like, what do you get Ted Danson, a multi-millionaire that has anything he could ever want?
Yeah.
What do you get him? You get him a book called Mondo Freaks,
and he's like the social justice guy. He's like he's always bragging about that. You get him a book called Mondo Freaks.
The socially active liberal humanitarian.
Yeah, he's out there protesting. Yeah. Mondo Freaks.
Well, since so many of these characters play themselves, and like I feel like we're all on Larry's side 95% of the time, do you ever, I don't know, like sometimes I'm worried about these actors because I'm like, all right, you're an actor, you're technically playing yourself, but you're sort of being an asshole to Larry that we're all rooting for. And like, I've grown to what are you guys' thoughts on where I'm going?
I mean, I want to hear the rest of what you're saying, but like in terms of Ted Danson, his career's doing just fine. Like that, I never watched The Good Place, but
I do think he's like that though. I just assume that is what Ted Danson is like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's like my point is like, should those people ever be worried about people not liking them for themselves because of them playing themselves on the show?
Well,
yeah.
I don't like that. I like am upset at George and Elaine. They're terrible to him. Like, so it does make me like when a Seinfeld.
You talking about George and Elaine, the characters? You talking about
the character? Sorry, Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, Jason and
Julia on Curb.
On Curb.
Oh, gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it makes me not lose respect for him. Lose respect is probably a good
one that I actually like. So this is the opposite problem.
Oh.
I actually started to appreciate her and her comedy more so after seeing the episodes of her on Curb, and that's Wanda Sykes.
Nice.
Those early seasons when Wanda, there's an episode where he gets to a valet and he sees this guy and he's in a suit. He's a black guy. And he goes to hand him the keys and he's like, I'm not the valet. And then Wanda appears and she goes, oh, see a black man in a suit. He must be parking cars. And then 20 minutes later in the episode, he forgets to lock his car and a black guy walks by him and he turns around and he locks the car. And then Wanda hears through the grapevine as she appears and she goes, So a black man in a suit's parking cars, black man no suit must be stealing cars. And I was just like, so like then like on Comedy Central you would see like, oh, Wanda Sykes is hosting this, or Wanda Sykes has a stand-up thing. And like I'm going, oh, I want to watch that, because I was like, how funny she is on the show, you know, playing herself. But like to your point, she's an antagonist for Larry, but she's not like a Ted Danson character who's you know comes off as kind of a prick, you know.
Michael J. Fox comes off as a total prick, and it's hilarious. That's like one of the best things he's in, is him using his Parkinson's to shake up Larry's pop and stuff. That is like the funniest shit. And then you never know, you never find out if he's doing it on purpose or not. He's just always the floor stops and stuff, and he's always just kind of like looking at Larry and giving him this look. But you know, like they never come out and say whether he's actually doing it on purpose or not, which is so funny and such an interesting way to approach it.
Ricky Gervais, like I'm still neutral with him. I mean, I think he's still great. Like that tracks, but I totally agree with Justin where like, yeah, the Jason Alexander and Julia, it does hurt my outlook on them just a little bit, which is unfortunate.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, I'm curious. Maybe do you guys just see them as Elaine and George Costanza all the time, or like?
I guess.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, at this point, like I've probably seen more of them on Curb in the last 15 years.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
I mean, like my height of Seinfeld was like 2000 to like 2006. And then like, I mean, I've seen episodes since then, but like,
yeah,
you know, I don't know. Like, I just kind of like, I've seen them all multiple times, and you guys said it earlier, you know, they used to play 4 or 5 episodes a day between TBS and WGN.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah.
you know,
I couldn't stand the TBS ones where they were sped up. That shit drove me insane. Do you ever see the sitcoms on TBS to fit more commercial time in? They played them at like 1.3 or 4 speed.
Jeez.
And it felt so off, and I thought I was going nuts. And then I finally found out, no, they're just doing that to fit more commercial time into 30 minutes.
Whoa.
So Seinfeld, it was so noticeable. The characters are just talking like a mile a minute, and you're like, I don't remember it being like this.
right.
And then I bought all the Seinfeld DVDs, and I had all Seinfeld seasons
So
on
it's
DVD.
so funny. I had the first 5 seasons on DVD.
Okay.
And then went through this period where it was like, I don't want any physical media. I think they're still in my mom's garage.
Okay.
And I want to get them back if I still haven't put them on display.
I'm back to physical media because it disappears randomly off streaming sites at a moment's notice.
Yeah, I don't want to get into a physical media conversation, but I've been buying a lot of DVDs recently for $1 a piece at garage sales because
Nice.
Oh, nice.
I've like, for example, I've always wanted to see the movie Patton. I just haven't gotten around to see it yet. There's so many movies.
Such an
to
odd
see. But
specific
it's
pick.
okay. It's on the AFI list. It's a Best Picture winner.
Grandpa's favorite movie.
Nothing against George C. Scott. I just haven't seen Patton yet. But I saw it for brand new, still in the wrapper, never opened DVD at a garage sale the other week for $1. And I was like, you know what? Now I own it. Because I went to go watch it. It was on HBO Max. And then like 6 months later, I was like, I'm in the mood. I'm going to watch Patton tonight. Well, it wasn't on there anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
First.
And it's the same deal with Seinfeld. Like, I'm kind of like, man, I might rewatch some Seinfeld. And I'd rather fire up the DVD player than play craps with, well, the Netflix contract had ended July 31st, and now it's in limbo until January when it's going to be put on Peacock.
Right.
And it's like, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
I was thinking that to myself today because I have that. So I have Xfinity, and I mean, I could sort of like rent just about anything for like 48 hours for like $3. And I'm like,
same.
I should really start doing that because there are certain movies I want to watch at very specific times. And if I truly can't find it on a streaming service, I might as well do myself a favor and spend $3 to rent it. But I mean, I'm a big, don't mean to get into superheroes, but I'm a big DC guy. Sure. And on Max, there's usually all of the DC stuff. But then there's like random movies that should be on there, like animated movies I really like. there's like random animated movies that are just like missing for no good reason. I'm like, what the heck? You know,
same with, they got all the fucking Scooby-Doo movies, but they don't have Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, which is my favorite one, the best one out of all of them.
It's the best.
And I'm like, I'm ready to go hook up my VHS player and pop in the fucking video.
I watched that one. Watched that when I worked at Family Video.
Yeah.
Nice.
A lot of Scooby-Doo.
I get it. Totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. You guys got any more Curb Your Enthusiasm things that you guys want to bring up?
We haven't talked about the John Hamm episode, right?
Love it.
That could be my favorite. That might be it. Okay. But I'm a big Mad Men fan, so obviously.
Same. My favorite show of all time.
Yeah. John Hamm has played a lot of weird guys, I feel like in movies, like not his normal, like steady character. So it's nice to see him just relaxed, but yet still or serious at first, and then just quickly just follows down the Larry David path and does the same. I think that, this is they replay the Mocha Joe bit when John meets with Cheryl, and then they do the whole same thing, but also a good segue from Mocha Joe.
It's a great segue from Mocha Joe.
Great segue.
So I've talked real quick. I've talked about this on the show before. I started to watch Mad Men in 2014. So I caught it right before like the last season or two, and I binged it on Netflix when it was on Netflix. It's the only thing it's on now is AMC Plus, which I don't get. So I've only seen the show one time, which now I'm gonna try to find the DVDs for it. So I binge watched 30 Rock in 2012, 13. And there's an arc in one of the seasons where he plays this like really dumb doctor that lives across this hall from Liz Lemon. And he like loses a hand and surgery. And I'm watching this show and I'm very, very vaguely familiar with what Mad Men is. I know it's really popular, but I haven't seen the show. And I'm like, this is the fucking funniest guy I've ever seen this guy's hysterical. So then a year or two later, I go to watch Mad Men and I was like, wow, he's up there with like, we talk about like Robin Williams or Steve Carell, guys that are known for comedy that then pull off these great dramas like in Foxcatcher, 1 Hour Photo or whatever. And like John Hamm's like the opposite. Everybody met him as like a great dramatic actor. And then he's doing 30 Rock, Curb, and it's like, dude, this guy's hysterical.
Oh yeah.
So my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
You got thoughts on John Hamm?
Him wearing matching outfits with Larry just makes the whole thing worth it. When they go to that dinner, that is the funniest shit ever. Just him wearing the same Larry David outfit. And Susie like calling him out, and she's like, "What the fuck is why are you Larry David now?" Yeah.
Yeah,
just the fact that John Hamm would just become like enamored with Larry David and just start taking on like his personalities.
Oh, that's the appetizer. You went over your appetizer allotment.
Yeah,
that's when he says that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they drink at the same time and do like the same little.
Yeah, they have the same problem.
Doesn't he stick his nose in the coffee like Larry does?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never seen an episode of Entourage, but I feel like other than Entourage and Curb, like it is really entertaining to see actors playing themselves. I'm trying to think of other shows that do that.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's if there's none that are coming to my mind, real quickly. And even with a show like Entourage, but I mean, I know that show's funny, but it's not. Curb's like its own thing.
It really is.
So even when they're playing themselves, like Michael J. Fox was definitely playing himself because they pushed the whole Parkinson's thing and whatever.
Yeah.
But like Ted Danson, I think that's a version of him. I don't know if that's exactly how Ted is.
Even Larry's not. I mean,
right.
Larry doesn't actually say these things.
No, it's all played up, and I think it all fits because it's almost like the setting itself, like the Hollywood that they're in, like the LA that they're in, is like its own character. And it's just this like wacky world where all these celebrities are just like the worst versions of themselves that you could possibly think of. Like, this is how they are. And, you know, every restaurant they go to, the waiter or the waitress has some problem with them. You know, it's not like it doesn't feel like a real place. It's like their little playground where Larry's just running around causing all these problems with these celebrities when they come in.
100%. So Mocha Joe, you brought up Mocha Joe. Mocha Joe. Supposed to go pick up the beans. You did me a favor. Go pick up the beans. I love the entire character arc of Mocha Joe.
Yeah.
From the reunion season to the spite store, the Latte Larry's. Oh my gosh.
When he's got to go, he's asking everybody their weight because he's trying to get the beans on the plane from the wedding.
I forgot about that.
And they don't want to be overweight, so he wants to get the damn beans on the plane. So they got to get everyone's weights.
Gosh.
Yeah. That was one of the rare times that like they were like on location somewhere else.
Right.
They weren't in like their LA neighborhood. Which I always wish they would do more of. Because the stuff in New York was funny.
New York, that was great. It was a nice change up.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure.
Is it Curb Your Enthusiasm? What am I thinking of God, he's like, he gets off the elevator and he's in one of the buildings and it's like somebody's office and like the ceiling height is wrong because like it's built on like a half a floor. So the ceiling is like 5 feet tall. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I could have swore that was like an earlier Curb season, but maybe not. It might be something completely different.
It might be.
It's like
if it is, it's one of the episodes that I had on in the background and like I went upstairs for 20 minutes and missed it.
Yeah.
And then came back down and was like,
I can't remember, but I remember the stuff from the Spite store, specifically the squeaky table. And the coffee's not hot enough. Is it not hot enough or is it too hot? What is it?
Not hot enough.
Not hot enough?
Yeah. Would I be able to stick my nose in it if it was cold?
Yeah. And this, yeah. That's what he was dipping his nose. Yeah. He's dipping his nose, and the scones are not hard enough. They're too soft.
Yeah.
This is a muffin. This isn't a scone.
He's giving scones out to everybody when he gets his scones, and somebody chokes or something.
Yeah, Latte Larry, and then it burns down. How did it burn down at the end? What the hell happened where it burned down? Because I know Larry got like blamed for it, but I don't remember if it was actually his fault.
I just remember the urinals.
Yeah.
When he was trying to pick out like
no number two.
No number two.
No, no number two allowed. Only one.
That was
oh my gosh.
That was what's his name?
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn.
Oh no.
Who were you? What? Let me look.
Are you thinking in
the
the store?
Yeah, the guy who was Bill Burr, I think, was the guy who was doing the urinal.
Right.
Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Which was just a weird cameo from him. That was somebody who I always wish was more in the show because I love Bill Burr and I just wish he was in there more. Yeah. But yeah, I think he was the guy.
More Kevin Farley, more Conan.
Yeah. I definitely wanted more Conan. I think that would have been a great. Conan should have been on there for like the season as like a move to the neighborhood and then keep running into Larry and doing things.
Kind of like you remember that early Simpsons episode when Bush Senior moves in next door to Homer. And he's like they're like. And then they become friends at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I would have liked that
with
Conan, where like they are very standoffish.
Instead, he was like Poochie.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
He went back to his home planet afterwards. Yeah. Conan came down, hung out with him for one episode, and then went back to his home planet. He disappeared.
Something that Justin will always make fun of me for is I will laugh at things that like you guys just referencing The Simpsons, right? Like, I've never seen an episode of The Simpsons, but I would always do that growing up where someone would tell a story and I would like laugh at it, even though I didn't get it at all. I was just laughing at the story that they were telling. Justin just did that. I don't think Justin has any idea what you guys are talking about.
No, I get The Simpsons. I haven't seen it.
No, you've never seen an episode. You've never seen it.
You have to.
The idea
It's
of
all good.
Bush Senior moving in next door. To
I
Homer's
know. I
dad.
know. Juice is like 7 years younger than us, than me and Jimmy.
27.
So okay, you're 6 years. 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a common like term. Have you ever heard of on The Simpsons with Itchy and Scratchy, the Tom and Jerry knockoff?
No.
Well, there's a character. That's like the show within a show that's been ongoing in The Simpsons, and then there's one episode where they add a character named Poochie, who's a dog.
Yeah.
And they just add him purely as like a demographic, reaching like laser targeting a kid demographic. And then they just write him out of the show by the next episode by just saying Poochie
gone.
went back to his home planet. So he's not, they don't have an alien or anything. They just say Poochie went back to his home planet. So people just always say that when they just write shit
And
off a show.
We've seen like the first 15 seasons of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Remember when Homer goes to rock camp? That was
Yeah.
like season 12, 13.
Yeah.
That was towards the end of like when I started to fall off.
The
a
Simpsons
little bit.
movie was like
Simpsons. Okay, so like yeah,
kind of a
first
nice
15,
capstone.
16,
Yeah.
That was 2007.
Yeah. I feel the same way about the SpongeBob
Same,
SpongeBob series.
Same.
I could do a
I
whole
was
one of these on
watching the
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob movie today. Actually,
Hell yeah.
The
you
first
were.
one? The first one?
Yeah.
That's the only good one. The first one is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can talk about the SpongeBob movie all day. I love the SpongeBob movie.
But those first like 12, 13 seasons of The Simpsons were huge for us like,
Yeah.
growing up.
yeah.
Because like this was before we watched The Simpsons and then Adult Swim hit.
Sure.
And we found, I mean, you might have watched them when they originally aired. I didn't.
Oh,
But
I
that's
did.
how we found Futurama and Family Guy
Oh yeah.
was on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
And we were a part of the community that bought the Family Guy DVDs
Unfortunately. Yeah.
that helped get that show back on the air
Yeah.
after it had been canceled.
Oh.
And Futurama.
And Futurama.
Which I streamed that constantly on Netflix, which is why Comedy Central ended up picking it back up. Which I think they might be making another season of Futurama.
I don't know why they need to.
I think they're making another season of it. It keeps coming back from the dead. It's
Right.
had like 3 genuinely good finales, including several animated feature film finales that worked as finales that were meant to be finales for the show. They keep having finales and then they keep getting revived. And
I
coming
fell
back.
off after like season 5.
Oh, it's so
you know?
good.
But it was the same thing with Family Guy. When it came back
Sure.
for like 3 or 4 years, I was like still locked in.
Sure.
And then like 2010 hit. I think it was like the weed episode. They did like a big.
I don't
weed
remember,
episode.
but yeah.
That was like when I was like,
Yeah.
all right, you've done it all. How
Yeah.
many?
Yeah.
Do you want a popsicle? I got a whole cellar full of popsicles. It's like how
Yeah.
many times you could do that bit? Maybe to
Yeah.
your point, maybe that's why Larry retired bald asshole.
Yeah, I think so. And I think going out on top, which we already talked about, that the show definitely, regardless of our opinion on the finale or the season, you can't say that like it went on too long or it dragged on or it wasn't as good. I mean, it was pretty much the same quality throughout, and it went out really in its peak, which Larry has always talked about that he was glad Seinfeld did. He's talked about that numerous times that he did not want Seinfeld. Fox was ready to keep it going. That was their prime show. They were ready to do 10 more seasons and they just didn't want to do it. So I'm glad he was able to do that again, because I'm sure HBO would love to pay him money to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think
Absolutely.
this is the last HBO show from like when HBO was HBO. It's now ended. So I mean, all the old 6 Feet Under, Sopranos, Curb Your Enthusiasm. These all came up
Even
at the same time.
and don't get me. I mean, it was 10 years after HBO became HBO, but like Game of Thrones premiered in 2010, 2011.
Sure,
You
could
know, and
include
that's
that.
gone.
Yeah, I would say you could include that. but-
Succession. I mean, I'm a huge Succession's like me and Lego did our favorite. Because I say Mad Men's my favorite show, but like I segregate them. So you got like
Sure.
comedies and then hour-long like dramas, right? So Curb's my favorite comedy, and then Mad Men's my favorite drama. But like Succession's like right at number 3, number 4 all time. But that's over.
Sure.
But again, to your point, I'm sure HBO was like, no, please give us 5 more seasons. Give us 5. But it's like, no, 4 seasons, that tells the story we want to tell.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Now they
Yeah.
did come back with Better Call Saul, which I never watched. I know.
So good.
I know.
So
Hmm.
good. And it's its own thing. I almost like it better at certain points than Breaking
I
Bad.
you're not the first person to say that.
Yeah. Although I have a lot of problems with Better Call Saul, especially the first 2 seasons. I don't know if you guys watched Better Call Saul, but yeah, it's an interesting. When they say slow burn, it is a slow burn.
Slower than Mad Men? Mad Men.
I've never seen Mad Men.
I'm curious to know if you Juice, when I found out you love Mad Men,
Yeah.
like
We should do that next.
don't be offended. I was kind of surprised because knowing you and your person, like
Oh, sure.
you just sitting there watching 4 episodes in a row when you're basically watching paint dry, and then
I love
Betty Draper starts talking to the neighbor kid. Like
Oh,
that's
yeah, that
4
was cool.
episodes,
Yeah.
4 hours. of
Yeah,
nothing,
there was a whole
and then Don will turn to Peggy and he'll go, she'll be like, Don, the whole 4, like you get 4 or 5 episodes, and Peggy's like telling Joan she wants a raise, and then she finally tells Don, she's like, I want a raise. I do all these things. Well, that's what the money's for. And it's such a small, they're so small payoffs, but it's the greatest show of all time. Fucking. And then they drive a lawnmower through the office. No spoilers for Mad Men.
Yeah.
Hey, spoilers. I'm just about to catch up. Don't tell me.
Oh,
I can't. That show ended 9 years ago.
Right?
Wow.
That's crazy.
I think, all right, here's a question for you guys. Since Curb's now ended, do you guys think what the term that they started using about 10, 12 years ago was the golden age of television? Do we think that that's kind of, I think it's kind of over because there's so many fucking shows now.
right.
I get 10 texts a week from 10 different people begging me to watch these shows so they can talk to me about them. And I'm like, dude, I got to rewatch Curb, or I got to watch these Quentin Tarantino movies for a show I'm doing in a couple of days. There's too many fucking shows now. I don't know, And I'm sure Severance is great. I'm sure Ted Lasso is great, but it's like, I haven't gotten Apple Plus because I haven't even finished watching all the 50 things on all my watch lists on all the other apps that I got.
Right.
But there was a time, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Curb, Game of Thrones. It was appointment viewing. Everybody watched it.
I think those days are over. I mean, I remember when Game of Thrones was going on, I would go out to bars because I was living in Chicago at the time. Me and my roommates would go out to the bars, packed, and people would go out Sunday nights to the bars, packed, and just all be watching the TVs.
Oh wow,
Dead
that's
silent
awesome.
watching Game of Thrones.
That's
you
awesome.
know, and when things would happen, somebody would get killed or something would happen. Oh, everyone would freak out. That'll never happen again. I mean, what show now? You know what I mean? To your point, everything is so atomized and divided. My favorite show of all time that I can recite word for word, you've never heard of. You know what I mean? We don't have like a shared.
Right.
It's just an example. We don't have like a shared. Most people don't have a shared experience anymore. Back when it was 2, 5, and 7, everyone was watching the same shows.
But I mean, we're talking past that because we're talking about HBO, AMC.
Sure.
I mean, like
Even
those
then.
first 6 seasons of The Walking Dead. I got my grandmother into The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
She was so hooked on that show
Wow.
for 6, 7 seasons. And then after Negan showed up, just like a lot of other people, kind of fell off.
I fell off after
before
that even.
But I mean, like I remember when House of Cards.
Oh yeah.
Those first 2 or 3, everybody you knew watched House of Cards.
Yeah.
American Horror Story.
American Horror Story is bad now.
It got bad after like
it's
the
so.
4th
I tried to watch the
season.
newest season. I made it like 5 episodes in.
Is
I was
that
like,
the one with
what the fuck
Kardashian?
is this? Yep. I was like, oh my god, what is this?
Well, I have a quick thought with that because it's like I was thinking of like the Mandalorian, like
Sure.
Justin and
Yeah.
Jacob wouldn't have been like because that was an episodic every week. We would talk about it and get into it, but like I feel like shows now are kind of like a weird middle between shows and movies because now they're all coming out on streaming services and actually have a huge budget for the most part too. So they're just kind of like this weird like middle. They don't even really feel like TV shows anymore. Like not like Curb or not like any of the other shows that we mentioned. It feels like like short I don't know, like short series or like mini series or something. Yeah, for me it's like this weird middle. And kind of like what you said, Rob, it's so niche. It's hard to get like the whole country to like all be like Tales. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
It's not that the shows are niche. It's that there's so many shows that they become niche. Because like, just like I said, when AMC 10, 12 years ago, when AMC was at the top of their game, they had Breaking Bad, Mad Men, and The Walking Dead. And I watched all three of those shows. I never thought I would get into a show about fucking zombies. I never thought I would get my grandmother, who's in her 80s, into a show about zombies. And then, you know, the next week watching people in suits and ties. Juice, I mean, again, you love Mad Men. These people take place in a bygone era with these horrible people that have riddled with, you know, and it's all dialogue based. And then here's a show, to use the words that they used when they pitched the show, you go from Mr. Chips to Scarface, you know, and it's like you're watching Breaking Bad, you know, and it's like, but yeah, you use the word niche because I think it's just oversaturated, you know, and I'm sure they're all great. It's just, I don't have time. There's no time to watch them all, you know, but again, that was when it was AMC, FX, HBO. There was only so many players, and The Mandalorian, I think, is the best thing Disney Plus has put out by far.
Oh yeah,
you know?
Oh yeah. Loki season 2. Loki season 2.
Loki would be right there with The Mandalorian. Yeah,
but I mean, like Tales of the Empire was just released, and like I liked Tales of the Jedi. I thought it was honestly really good, but like I'm like I don't really want to put effort into that, you know. It's just there's so many Marvel like I'm such a big Marvel fan too, and like I've never seen Hawkeye, I've never seen Echo, and I mean not all of it is necessarily any good, but I haven't seen there's so much I haven't seen that like 10 years, and maybe we're just getting older, but like 10 years ago I would be like, oh, I gotta watch that just because I'm a fan. Like, even if the quality isn't great, you know?
It's not, I don't think it's because we're getting older. But I think like everybody just kind of feels that way, you know, with a lot of these things. It's like, I'm sure they're great, but it's like, all right, we all only have so much spare time in a day. So what are you going to watch? And like, to be honest with you, just because we've been talking about it so much tonight, it's like, man, I really want to rewatch Mad Men. But I feel obligated to catch up on True Detective. And I feel obligated to finally watch Euphoria. And, you know, it's like I do all these shows here on the YouTube channel. So, like, I'm constantly watching stuff to prep for shows on here. Like, what did Rob do summer of 2022? I was watching 80s horror movies for 3 months straight. I didn't have time to, I'd catch up with new movies in the theaters. But otherwise, I wasn't watching anything else because of this. You know, that's just me. But, you know.
I think it's a glut of content. I mean, William there says there's too much to keep up with. And I agree with that. You know, it's because there used to only be Netflix.
Right.
And that was a novel idea. And then when they saw how much money they were making, hand over fist, everybody had to break out their own streaming service, which is fine. Well, it's not fine. It's horrid. It's a nightmare hellscape of
you're paying as much
subscription
as you're paying
fees.
for cable.
Yeah, it's a hellscape of subscription fees. But with that came, okay, well now we have all these networks each have their own plus. What do you have on it? Because no one's going to subscribe just to watch the one show they were watching on Netflix that they can't watch on there anymore. So now they've had to fill all of these. And you talked about these ones, but there's like Freevee, there's Fubu, there's Tubi, there's Roku Originals. It's a Roku original. Like,
remember
what
did
hell?
Joe Dirt 2 come out on? What was that?
Fucking, I don't know.
Crackle.
Piece of shit
Crackle.
movie.
Remember Crackle?
We watched that.
I know.
Hated it.
I know.
I was so excited for it.
I know.
Yeah, there's just too much content, too many niches.
But Austin said it. I mean, and they all got movie budgets, so they look good.
They do all have movie budgets.
So it's like I'm a big Taylor Sheridan guy. Love Yellowstone.
Absolutely, 80s horror.
I haven't seen Lawman Bass Reeves yet because when that show dropped, I was watching all the Oscar movies and I was consumed with that. And then 3 months went by and there's nobody texting me, hey man, you got to watch Lawman. You know, like, let's talk about it. It's like, there's no zeitgeist with it anymore. You know, it's like the show just dumps,
and
then it's gone.
You know where there is a zeitgeist? Yellowstone. That is
Well-
like everyone's parents' favorite show is Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Everyone's dad is talking about Yellowstone. You got to watch Yellowstone.
Who do you think I talk about Yellowstone with?
Yeah.
All my friends' parents.
Yeah, probably your friend's parents. I've not
All
seen
of
it.
them.
I have not seen it yet, but my dad recommends it to me once a week. There's a Joe Dirt 2. Nobody tell him. Nobody tell William that there's a Joe Dirt 2. Do not let him know. Oh my
So-
God.
Well, so William knows this. Joe Dirt's one of my favorite movies of all time. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
I love Joe
it's
Dirt.
like Godfather, Dark Knight 7,
Damn.
Casablanca,
Damn,
Joe Dirt.
Dirt's up there. Damn.
And,
Joe Dirt.
Well, I put an E on the end of it, pronounce it Dirte. It's all good.
Joe Dirt.
It
Yeah.
scrubs the bubbles so you don't have to.
Yeah. I think that I don't know, Curb, if they ever made another Curb, I could see them, I don't know. I would say I could see them making like a one-off in the future. Something like that, like a special.
Like a special.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I don't want it.
I don't. Yeah,
I didn't want Joe
it.
Dirt too. We don't need another.
Yeah,
Curb.
I could think it could only get worse.
They could do a reunion. Yeah, they try to do a reunion show on like a different sitcom.
on a different sitcom. Yeah, to get Larry with like with Jeff and stuff.
Yeah.
Bring it full circle.
So I know we could literally just sit here for the next
Yeah.
5 hours and just continue this. 'Cause listen, we got to do this again. This has been an
Yeah.
absolute
Oh, yeah.
freaking blast. Austin, this has been great.
Oh,
Jimmy
this is
coming on
great.
here has been great. This whole thing's been great.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
As we approach the 3-hour mark, we're going to start winding things down. So I'll let everybody kind of have their final thoughts about Curb just in general, maybe what it means to you, whatever, and then we'll do plugs and then we're going to get out of here. So Austin, we'll start with you. Kind of final thoughts about Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I feel like growing up, like with any sort of like TV show, like sometimes there's certain shows that are like I mean, you guys could probably say this like with Mad Men, maybe like you were in the right place in the right time, the right like time of your life where it was like perfect. Like watching, those first couple seasons with Juice, just playing Spider-Man, PS4. He kept experimenting in the kitchen. He made me like a panzerata or something like that. So like that was like I have such fond memories of that. And then I fell out of love with it. But then with Curb, like I just moved to Fort Wayne in July, so I've been here for like I guess almost a year now. Didn't know anybody moving here. Pretty bored. And then my buddy was like, he's like, you gotta watch the TiVo Guy episode. Like he just was like, you gotta watch the TiVo Guy episode. Something about like Larry being really funny with like girls, because that's when it was either that episode or the next episode where he was like flirting with someone and it was like really funny. But like it was such like the perfect time to like start there and just like move forward. I was bored in Fort Wayne. Like I'm watching all these like, and obviously we've been talking about the show for 3 hours. It's like it's such a great show. So it's such like perfect timing. Everything seemed relevant. It was fun to go back to like some of the earlier things. I mean, you talk about like things that you want to watch for the first time, like, Revenge of the Sith. Like I'd love to watch like Revenge of the Sith for the first time or something like that. But with this, it's like once I started getting into it, I'm like, yes, this is a great show. And I'm watching it for the first time and it's all new and it's not like so it felt like nostalgia, but it didn't feel like nostalgia at the same time, which is kind of Bored in Fort Wayne would be an awesome name for a show.
I think you got the name of your new show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you say you got bored.
But then and then obviously just like Larry David. I mean, it's funny to say this, but he's made such like an impact, I feel like, on my personality in terms of just like societal norms and like the just like conversation starters and being an asshole, but in a young man's body, I guess. So, I mean, it's great. And when you can find someone that's seen it, it's so much fun talking about. And obviously tonight was a great example.
Yeah.
So those are my closing thoughts.
Yeah.
Juice, what say you?
Yeah, I've been wrestling with this, for a while. It's what do you like more, Seinfeld or Curb? And I might be at the point where like if I had to like choose one, like I'm on a desert island, I could pick one of them. I might go Curb.
Sure.
I might. Yeah, so many more adventures and just going around different places, different characters, unhinged, no filter. Yeah, no holding back on the bits and the commentary. Just yeah, I might be a bigger Curb fan than Seinfeld, which feels blasphemous to say.
Jimmy, what about you?
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I think I hit it just at the right time, growing up with it. Really shaped sort of my sense of humor and things that I was interested in as far as comedies, and which is for the same reason that I liked Seinfeld. Seinfeld was in its era, I feel like PG-13. And
Right.
PG-13 was crazy in the 90s on sitcom,
Right.
network television. So they were pushing the envelope with PG-13, and then this came out, and this is rated R. They're not talking about a contest and the master of your domain. They're talking about jerking off and with a 40-foot telescope. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so just as my sense of humor developed, and as that hit me like when I was in high school, especially. That shit was just the funniest, and of course, it's funnier in high school. That kind of crude humor and swearing is funnier in high school than any point ever. But
It's probably why I swear so much. Is because I watched so much Curb as an adolescent.
yeah,
It's like, well, they just say fuck all the time.
yeah. But I think it's been definitely something that I feel lucky to have seen like in real time.
Same.
And it feels weird to say that it's been, at least for now. Obviously, as I get older, that math changes. But at least for now, I've been watching Curb longer than I haven't been in my life, because it started when I was 10 and it's gone on till now. So it's definitely sad that it's over. It's definitely bittersweet that it's over, but I totally get it, and I'm glad it went out, on a high note. And it'll definitely be a show that I'll keep on repeat. I got Always Sunny, Futurama, and Curb probably are like my top three. Like, I'm just gonna watch those until I'm deceased, until the end of time. That's what I'm putting on, in the background.
And get them on physical media, because if they ever get taken off of
That's true.
streaming, you'll still have them.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I mean, I echo everything you guys are all saying, and especially with what Jimmy's saying about how like we've been watching the show for more of our life than we haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
But and again, like I remember when I first, because it's like you grow up and you're watching like Full House and The Cosby Show, and I watched a lot of TV Land, so like Andy Griffith's show, Get Smart.
Yeah. Oh,
Brady
love
Bunch,
Get Smart.
Partridge
Get Smart.
Family.
Yeah, we got it.
We got to do a Get Smart.
Do a Get
special. Holy shit! And we got to do a Scorsese thing,
Ah.
but that's for another time. But then like you graduate, so then it's like now I'm 11, 12, and I'm seeing. You first start watching the show and you think, oh, Kramer, he's so goofy and funny and he's a goofball. And then you hit like 13 and you're like, oh, I really understand Jerry. And I'm starting to understand George and Elaine, right? And it's like in retrospect, it's like Seinfeld was the greatest appetizer, but Curb Your Enthusiasm is the main course. And like just like you said, Seinfeld in the 90s was a PG-13 show on network television, that wasn't Saturday Night Live, because that show's on late at night, or The Tonight Show, or whatever, Conan O'Brien. That was on primetime. But then we get to Curb, and yeah, just like exactly what you said, you're not talking about a contest, you're using words and vulgarities, and it's genius. And I'm, Larry David brought all of us together here tonight.
Yeah.
So obviously he has made a huge impact nationwide, worldwide, whatever. I don't know how well Curb plays in other countries, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts on that. So this has been a freaking blast.
It's cool that we talk about growing up with it, and that's one thing, because we're right in that prime demographic.
Right.
But you guys didn't. And it's cool that you have found, that you like it just as much, and you found different meaning in it, and you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I wish I could go back and now, as an adult, and watch it for the first time, like you said. Like I can't imagine if I just stumbled upon Curb now. Damn, I'm jealous. Like, even in college to have been like that, my first time seeing it. Oh, I would have went nuts with it. But yeah, so it's cool to hear that. That means in the future more people will find it, and be watching it. It's not a show that you had to have grown up with, and if you didn't watch it growing up, you're like, oh, some of those shows you loved growing up, or movies even, and you look back and you're like, I was a kid or a teenager.
Right.
I know I like this.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would love to be able to go back and rewatch it because I just think about how hard, like how physically hard I laughed.
Yeah.
Watching a lot of those the first time because you don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm thankful I have a bad memory. But sometimes I am watching it for the second time, but it feels like I'm watching it for the first time. But the gut, like it's very rare. I watch a lot of movies right here on my desk or right at my chair. And it's not that often I'm actually gut laughing. And Curb, so many multiple, just like actual laugh out loud. I have neighbors that definitely can't hear me through. Or if you're outside, you can definitely hear through like just me laughing like a crazy person. But yeah,
that's fair.
All right, let's do plugs. Because I mean, some of us have things to plug. Juice, what do you got going on and where can the people find you?
Just what the show. I wasn't on last week, so I don't know what we're doing this week. But yeah, but we're doing something. I'm sure. I'll make sure I'm there since I wasn't there last time. But yeah, be hanging out.
Austin, do you have anything you want to plug?
I have an Instagram, austin.t.munlock. I'll plug my Instagram.
Plug your LinkedIn.
Oh, my LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm a slut on LinkedIn. Also, just Austin Munlock. So yeah.
Okay. Jimmy, you got anything you want to plug?
If you've never seen the show Review that ran on Comedy Central, check that show out.
Okay.
One of the most unhinged comedy shows you'll ever see. There's only 2 or 3 seasons.
Is it a newer show?
Maybe like 6-7 years old.
Okay. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it stars Andy Daly, and one of the funniest comedies. When I think of like stomach hurt, belly laughing, I'm plugging some other show. So I'm plugging another show.
Yeah.
Check out Review, it's called. It's a man who just gets people write in things that he has to review, experiences, and he has to review those experiences and give them a 1 through 5 stars. That's the whole premise of the show, and it is some of the stupidest, funniest, smartest comedy ever.
So I actually have a show to plug too. Another thing about it, I think it's just called Newsroom. It's not the Aaron Sorkin one. It was a Canadian sitcom that takes place in like a television news station, kind of like The Office, but it was before The Office. So it's like Seinfeld meets The Office in Canada. And it's pretty great. I think only had 3 seasons, but my uncle watched it, like I think when he was in college or so, and just was like, this is incredible. And so he found him. So we were on vacation one time and binged pretty much the whole thing. But so many like of that offensive kind of Larry, like Michael Scott, because he's in the work environment, like all that stuff. But yeah, it's really good.
I just want to plug old comedies now, like Hours, Mr. Bean. You guys remember Mr. Bean?
Yeah.
He was great.
So stupid.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for a copy of Bean the Movie on VHS.
Bean the Movie.
So garage sales, beware. I'm coming for you. You can find me at Rob Fishbeck. We've got a whole slew of content coming to you on the RFN this week. We'll be talking about Quentin Tarantino with some good buddies on Wednesday night. And then Thursday night, Characters of Culture is back with some special guests me and Lego got. We're doing a Warner Brothers bracket. So that's gonna be a shit show. But I'm really hoping for Goodfellas to win that night. But all right, everyone. Stay safe, be well. Take it easy.
Squeeze it easy.
Squeeze it easy.
Squeeze it easy and get some vanilla bullshit.
And I'll have a vanilla